So there I was, minding my own business, when I heard this sickeningly sweet voice going, "Oh, dear sister, I'm so sorry you had to wait for me. Hold up. Where am I? Who is this walking green tea?" I rubbed my forehead, totally confused. Then I looked down at myself, fancy ancient-looking clothes, embroidered silk blankets, the whole deal, and it hit me like a truck. I transmigrated into a book, a cultivation novel I'd been reading, specifically, and not as the hero.
Oh, no.
I'm the canon fodder side character who shares my name, Gu Ningyun, the poor sucker who gets her spiritual root stolen in Chapter 1 and then just.
Dies.
That's it. That's her whole role. One chapter and poof, gone. And this little princess playing the "I'm such a sweet little sister" act? That's the female lead, Gu Ningyun. Grade A manipulator. 5 stars on the green tea scale. She was explaining, very innocently, of course, that testing our spiritual roots had to wait a month because we needed to do it together at the ancestral ceremony. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know the real reason, sweetheart. You need us both untrained so the root swap ritual works. You just wrapped that nasty little scheme in a pretty bow. Then she hit me with, "Big sister is so kind. You won't be mad, right?" I almost choked. But I channeled the original Gu Ningyun's personality, sweet, trusting, zero survival instincts, smiled my best smile and said, "How could I ever be mad at my precious little sister? She bought it."
Of course she did.
Then she pulled out this birthday gift, a food box from some fancy bakery called Guifeng Studio. This thing was half her height. 6 layers, carved ivory, each tier stuffed with little pastries. Me, a former college senior who ate instant noodles for dinner? I'm looking at this box thinking, oh, so that's what an ivory-carved carrying food box looks like. Fancy. My inner thought, did she poison these? My outer reaction, wow, I love it so much. Hugs her dramatically. I'm definitely getting you the best birthday present ever, little sis. Finally, she left and I could breathe. I looked around my room. Carved wooden bed, pink curtains, a painted screen, a vanity with an actual silver mirror. Cultivation world perks, I guess. The Gu family really committed to the act. Everything looked like they adored me. Spoiler, they do not. I hopped off the bed with my tiny little kid legs. Oh yeah, I'm 6. Waddled past the screen to the mirror and stared at myself. Big bright eyes, cute little face, pink pajamas. Adorable, honestly. Looked nothing like that fragile beauty, act Gu Ningyun pulls. Well duh, we're not real sisters. See, here's the backstory. Some shady old fortune teller told the Gu family that their precious daughter's spiritual root was trash, and the only fix was to swap it with mine. So they adopted me, raised me, treated me nice. Also, I'd sit still like a good little lamb when they ripped my spiritual root out of me.
Yeah.
No thanks. My plan?
Run.
But this is a cultivation family compound. Guards everywhere. Magical formations. Probably hidden monks in the bushes. Climbing the wall was out. The only option was walking straight out the front door, like I owned the place. Then I glanced at the pastry box and remembered my promise to buy Little Miss Green Tea a birthday gift.
Ding.
There's my excuse to leave. But wait, I'm 6. Where exactly am I going to go after I escape? I touched the jade gourd pendant hanging around my neck and grinned internally. According to the novel, this little necklace looks like a cheap trinket, but it's actually a spatial artifact, basically a pocket dimension. In the original story, nobody figured this out until after the root swap, when the heroine accidentally got blood on it. Well, guess who's claiming it early? This girl. First, though, the pastries. I took one from each layer, put them on a plate, sealed the box back up, and called in my maid. Happy birthday to me. I'm in a good mood. Here, you can have these. The maid, Lulua, took them without suspicion. What she didn't know I knew was that she's actually a spy planted by Madame Gu to watch me. She helped set up the whole root-stealing thing in the original plot. Real piece of work. I watched her eat every single pastry. Not poisoned.
Good to know.
Then, casual as anything, tomorrow I'm going out to buy my sister a birthday gift. You're coming with me, miss. You're too young to go out without an elder. But I promised my sister. You want me to break my promise and make her sad? She panicked and dropped to her knees.
Too easy.
It's settled.
Get my bath ready.
Early morning tomorrow, I told her tonight on purpose. She'd definitely run off to ask Madame Gu for permission. And Madame Gu would say yes, because they want to keep me happy and unsuspecting. Later that night, lights out, door closed, spy maid gone. I sat up in bed. I grabbed a little stone I'd secretly pocketed during my casual stroll around the compound earlier, pricked my finger, and squeezed a drop of blood onto the jade gourd. The pendant slurped up that blood like it had been waiting its whole life for this moment. Then it dissolved into a streak of green light and zoomed straight into my chest. The string just dangled there, empty. I checked myself, no visible marks.
Perfect.
Hidden inventory, unlocked. I focused on the image of the gourd in my mind and thought, enter the space. Let's go. A flash of white light and boom. I'm standing on a grassy field. I took a deep breath and oh my God, the air in here was incredible. Like every pore on my body just went, ah. If fresh air had a VIP lounge, this was it. The space was about 100 square meters of grass, surrounded by white mist with shadowy trees lurking behind it. In the middle, a stone pillar, a janky little thatched hut, a pond, and one sad little tree with absolutely zero leaves. Just vibes. Wait, in the original novel, when the heroine opened this space, it was just empty dirt. Nothing else. Why do I get the deluxe edition? You know what? Not gonna question my luck. I pushed open the hut door, creak, and inside was a cushion with a book on it. That's it. Very minimalist. Very ancient cultivator who doesn't believe in furniture. The book felt weird. Not paper, not leather, something else entirely. Super tough and flexible though. I flipped to the cover, all excited. Cool. Can't read a single character. Open it up to try the inside. Yep, still gibberish. The original Gu Ningyun learned the standard cultivation world script, so this must be some kind of ancient language.
Great.
A mysterious book I can't read. Very on brand for a transmigration story. The cushion was amazing though. The second I sat on it, I felt like my brain got a spa treatment. Refreshed, clear-headed. The works. Filed that under useful later. Next stop, the pond. About 2 meters across, sitting in what looked like a giant jade bowl carved from a single stone. The water was crystal clear, odorless, and the moment I got close, my entire soul felt like it was getting a massage. This had to be spiritual spring water. I reached down a drink, then stopped. If I drink this and suddenly start glowing or something, the Gu family will definitely notice.
Nope.
Saving this for after the escape. The leafless tree? No clue what it was. The white mist? Couldn't get close. So, I turned to the stone pillar. It was jade green and a head shorter than me, which, being 6, means it was tiny. The second I touched it, a transparent screen popped up showing my bedroom. Live feed. I could see my empty bed, the half-burned candle, everything. So the space swallows my whole body, time runs the same inside and out, and I've got a security camera. Noted. I popped back out into reality, tiptoed to the door, and peeked through the crack.
Dark.
Quiet. Just lantern shadows. Packing time. The space had some kind of magic. My bare feet had been on the grass in there, but came out perfectly clean. Nice touch. I raided my wardrobe. 10 sets of easy-to-move-in clothes, yoink. Into the space. A fresh set of bedding, yoink. The pastries from that fancy box, yoink, but I left the box itself, so nobody would notice. Bathtub, basin, towels, soap, yoink, yoink, yoink. And finally, 50 taels of silver-eyed found stashed in the vanity. I put everything back to look normal, then flopped into bed, satisfied. Even if tomorrow's plan went sideways, I had enough supplies to survive a few days. Emergency kit. Secured. Next morning.
Lulua didn't argue about going out.
Madame Gu must have approved it. Probably said something like, she's too stupid to cause trouble. Love that energy.
Keep underestimating me.
At the front gate, 2 sword-carrying guards blocked the door with a bow. What does the young miss require? I grabbed Lulua's sleeve and cranked the innocent child act to 11. I'm going to buy my little sister a birthday present. Lulua's with me, I don't need you guys. Shoo. One guard sneaked a glance at Lulua. She gave a tiny nod. Please, young Mississippi, I skipped out that gate like it was Christmas morning. Let's go, Lulua. Best birthday present ever. I deliberately headed east, far from the Gu compound on the west side. We browsed for over an hour until I spotted the east gate of town. Then I activated Phase 2. At a street stall, I picked up a mother-of-pearl hairpin. Lulua, bend down. I held it up to her hair all sweet. Lulua, this looks so pretty on you. It really brings out your elegance. The stall owner jumped right in. Great eye, little miss.
These are from Yinzhou.
Even the immortal ladies love them. Just one tael of silver, special price. Just for you too. I'll take it. Then, Oscar-worthy performance incoming. I reached for my coin purse, froze, put the hairpin down, dragged Lulua to a quiet spot, squatted down, covered my face with both hands, and wailed. Luo. I forgot to bring money. Miss, we could just come back tomorrow. No. What if someone buys that hairpin before then? I wanted to give it to you. Blink, blink, puppy eyes engaged. Can you please run back and grab my silver? It's in the second drawer of the vanity. I'll wait right here under this tree. Look, so many people around. Nobody's gonna kidnap me. Lulua hesitated. But then she remembered what Madame Gu had said last night. She's been this dumb for years. What trouble could she possibly cause? Plus, she had a spirit stone in her pocket, a reward for doing such a good job spying on me, and she sure wasn't going to spend that on some mortal trinket. She looked at my big, dumb, trusting eyes one more time, and left. I squatted there with my hands on my cheeks, and when she glanced back, I beamed at her. I'll wait for you, Lula. The second she turned two corners, I was up and gone. See, while we'd been shopping, I'd memorized the location of the Tianxia Carriage Company, the biggest, most reliable transport service in the entire cultivation world. They operate everywhere, even tiny towns like this. I walked in and hired a carriage. Sir, please go out the east gate to the nearest city, Luoyang City, and wait at the west gate for my friend. Wait 1 incense stick's worth of time. If he shows up, bring him back here. If not, the job's done. Luoyang City? 4 hours round trip. 2 taels of silver. Paid. Decoy carriage deployed. Then I walked over to the next carriage and said, Sir, please follow that carriage with me inside. The driver, a chill guy in brown, didn't even blink. Sure thing, little lady. Hop in. Once we cleared the town gates, I changed the plan. Actually, you can stop following them. Please go east for a bit, then take the back roads to Yushui City. No problem. There's a shortcut behind that mountain. It's a bit remote, though. You scared? Scared? The more remote and confusing the route, the better. Let's do it. I didn't breathe easy until the Yanlin town marker disappeared behind us. The Gu family might be top dogs in Yanlin town, but outside of it, they couldn't exactly send out a search party without drawing attention. I was free. I leaned back in the carriage seat, grinning like an idiot. My plan had worked perfectly. Stratagem number 26. Play the fool to catch the fool. And this fool just outplayed them all. Victory, Gu Ningyun. So that first carriage heading east? Total decoy. A red herring on wheels. My real destination was Yushui City, to the north. Why Yushui City? Because that's where the #1 cultivation sect in the entire world, the Shaorao Immortal Sect, holds their once-a-decade recruitment drive. And I know this because in the original novel, the heroine was so salty about missing it. Every time she hit a wall in her training, she'd whine about how Yushui City had a recruitment station, and if she'd just finished stealing my spiritual root one day earlier, she could have joined the top sect instead of her mid-tier backup school. Well, guess what, bestie? I'm going instead. And I've got about a month before recruitment starts. But as I leaned on the carriage window, watching the scenery roll by, a thought nagged at me. The Gu family schemed to literally rip out my spiritual root, and I'm just gonna leave quietly?
No, Babek?
That felt wrong. Then I remembered. There's a hidden treasure near Yushui City that the heroine was supposed to find before entering her sect. Nothing dangerous, just well hidden. And I had a whole month to kill. Time to commit some preemptive treasure theft. Sorry not sorry. Once inside Yushui City, I went on a shopping spree. A month's worth of food. Check. 10 iron pickaxes strapped to my back. Check. Me, a 6-year-old, waddling through town like a tiny, determined coal miner. Absolutely check. I made it out the city gates before they closed for the night, found a deserted spot, and dove into my pocket dimension. The second I put those pickaxes down, my arms turned to jelly. I was wheezing like a grandma climbing stairs. Being 6 years old with the upper body strength of a wet noodle is not ideal for hauling mining equipment. After a snack and a rest, I eyeballed that spiritual spring. Okay. Moment of truth. I took one tiny, careful sip. It tasted amazing, cool, sweet, refreshing, and then it turned into a stream of energy flowing through my entire body, and AAGHHHHH. Every cell in my body felt like it was being chewed on by a million microscopic ants. I collapsed onto the grass, teeth clenched, tears streaming, questioning every life decision that led me to this moment. The pain went on for what felt like hours until I literally went numb. When it finally stopped, I noticed 2 things. 1. I felt incredible. 2. I smelled like a dumpster behind a butcher shop. I looked down. My entire body was coated in a thick layer of blackish red.
Crust.
Blood, toxins, general body nastiness, all expelled through my skin in one horrifying layer. I needed 3 baths to get clean. 3. And I dumped the dirty water on that sad little leafless tree, because waste not, want not. Oh, and I checked the spring refills itself. Bubbles up from the bottom whenever the water level drops. Infinite spiritual spring water. No big deal. Just casual protagonist perks. Now for the good part. Post-cleansing me was basically a superhero. I could lift the heavy bathtub like it was a pillow. Those pickaxes that nearly killed me earlier? I could probably carry 20 now. I was faster, stronger. My skin went from delicate tofu to actually durable. This was the legendary body purification from all those cultivation novels. Except I speedran it with fancy water instead of years of training. I tried another sip, no pain this time, no gross stuff. Already fully cleansed, baby. The energy just circled through me and faded since I haven't started actual cultivation yet, but it did wipe out all my fatigue. Instant energy drink. A whole night had passed. Time to go to work. Mining montage. Outside Ushuaia City, on a boring little mountain with barely any spiritual energy, there was a crooked maple tree next to a clear pond. Nothing special looking at all. I rolled up my sleeves, took a deep breath, and dove in. At the bottom, behind a wall of vines, my fingers found it, a hole just wide enough for an adult's shoulders. The secret entrance to a small spirit stone mine. I surfaced, gulped air, and dove back in headfirst. After half swimming, half crawling about 10 meters through the tunnel, I popped out inside the hollow mountain. Pitch black everywhere, but thanks to my spring water power-up, I could see in the dark like a cat. I grabbed my pickaxe and started swinging at the left wall. Chunk, chunk, chunk. Half a foot of dirt fell away, and clang. Black stone. Some mystery rock I didn't recognize. The novel never mentioned what it was, and the heroine hadn't bothered collecting it. But me? If it's sitting next to a spirit stone mine, it's probably not just a regular rock. Into the space it goes. Past the black stone layer, a wave of fresh energy hit my face, and there they were. Clusters of transparent, 6-sided crystals glinting in the darkness. Low-grade spirit stones. And this was just the first cluster. Let's
go.
What followed was 10 straight days of me going full dwarf mode. Clang, clang, clang. Swing the pickaxe. Hungry? Pop into the space. Eat. Pop back out. Tired? Sip some spring water. Instant recharge. Can't keep my eyes open? Lay out the bedding on the grass. Pass out. Wake up. Resume mining. I burned through 7 pickaxes before I cracked out the last cluster. Then I spent another full day and 2 more pickaxes harvesting every last bit of that black mystery stone because I am nothing if not thorough. I stood in the empty mine shaft, looking at the bare dirt walls where a fortune used to be, and smiled. That's right. Gu Ningyun, the goose who plucks every feather, left nothing behind. Not a single crumb for the heroine. Sucks to be you. I barely made it back to the space, managed a quick wash, and then face-planted onto the grass, and slept like I'd been hit with a tranquilizer dart. Meanwhile, outside, families with kids were starting to trickle into Ushuaia City for the sect recruitment. But I was too busy being unconscious to notice. I woke up because my stomach was screaming at me, sat up, bleary-eyed, and noticed I'd passed out 3 steps away from my perfectly laid-out bed. After eating, I finally counted my loot. 18 supreme-grade spirit stones, 209 high-grade spirit stones, 2,356 mid-grade spirit stones, a small mountain of low-grade spirit stones, a slightly smaller but still taller than me pile of mystery black rocks. I tried very hard to keep a straight face. It's nothing, just a little windfall. Stay humble. It's not like I just mined more wealth than the Gu family could earn in 10 years or anything. Deep breaths. Low profile.
Be cool.
Ushuaia City was packed. I'd come back from my 10-day mining marathon to find every inn in the city absolutely stuffed with people. I had to walk from the south side all the way to the north before I found a room. The #1 sect in the cultivation world was recruiting, and apparently everyone wanted in. I'd been back 3 days, just chilling at my window, people watching, when the crowd below suddenly gasped. I looked up and, holy crap, 2 massive flying ships burst through the clouds and parked in midair above the city. Then 2 actual immortals stepped off their swords and floated down to a platform in the city's center, like it was no big deal. The entire city lost its collective mind. Parents grabbed their kids and sprinted toward the center. I yanked my head back inside and thundered downstairs. Innkeeper. Checking out. By the time I got there, the line was already insane. Kids wrapped around the platform in like 10 circles. I found the end and joined up, and within minutes, 2 more rings of tiny humans formed behind me. The crowd outside the line was massive too, locals gawking, parents stress-sweating. Everyone was weirdly quiet though, probably terrified of annoying the immortals. Even the kids who came down crying got their mouths covered by their parents immediately. The vibe was somewhere between college admissions day and audience with God. Me? I was chill. The original Gu Ningyun had a supreme-grade wind spiritual root. The testing part was in the bag. Whatever came after, well, I give it everything I had. Most kids barely made it onto the platform before running back down in tears. No spiritual root detected. Tough break, kid. The line moved fast. Then it was my turn. A white-robed immortal with a green sash handed me a stone. Grip it. My palm stung for a second, and then the stone lit up with a green glow. I opened my hand and watched the light rise from the bottom, layer by layer, until the entire stone was pure, solid green. The immortal flicked his finger, and the stone flew back to him. In its place, a round jade disc appeared, which he pressed against my forehead. Cool sensation. What's her name? Now, I'd thought about changing my name after escaping the Gu family. But honestly, Gu Ningyun has been my name since my previous life. The orphanage director found me with it embroidered on my collar. 20+ years. I wasn't giving it up just because some sketchy family happened to share the surname. Besides, once I got into Xiaorao's sect, the #1 sect, what was some small-town family gonna do about it? And even if Gu Lianxue found another victim and joined her backup sect, Star Moon sect was basically a community college compared to this Ivy League. My name is Gu Ningyun, I said. Ning as in lemon, Yun as in all living things. Gu Ningyun. Supreme grade wind spiritual root. A tiny breeze swept across my forehead and the jade disc was removed.
Take this.
Proceed to the next test. I tucked the jade disc into my collar like it was a golden ticket because it basically was. On the platform, besides the testing immortal, there was a giant mirror, a cloud mirror, and another immortal with a blue sash standing next to it. As I walked over, I watched a boy get teleported off the platform through the mirror. His jade disc flew into the blue sash immortal's hand. Rejected. I recognized that kid. During his test, his stone had shown 70% green and 80% blue, a pretty decent dual spiritual root. And he still didn't pass? Okay. Slightly nervous now. Blue sash waved me forward. I stepped into the mirror. white mist, then solid ground. I blinked. I was sitting in a university library. My university library. Wearing my old modern clothes. Students quietly studying around me. Laptop open in front of me. A mental demon trial? Seriously? I looked at the screen.
Code.
Nearly 1,900 lines of it. And at the bottom, a console window screaming at me with 32 red error messages. So to pass this immortal sex entrance exam, I had to debug code. I'm sorry, I thought we were doing cultivation here? Sword fighting? Magical powers? But no, apparently the path to immortality runs through a compiler. Good thing I was a senior software engineering student at Beijing Aerospace University before I transmigrated. My graduation thesis? Due the day I got ice guide. I scrolled through the code from top to bottom and almost laughed out loud. The program was an AI-based software defect detection and repair system. This was literally my graduation project topic. The cultivation world just gave me my own final exam. My fingers went into autopilot. 4 years of university keyboard warrior training activated. I was back in my element. Eyes locked on the screen, brain in debug mode, clacking away like a woman possessed. Click, 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 click. Run successful. Phew. I leaned back and the library dissolved around me. I was standing on a white jade platform at the foot of a staircase that stretched up into the sky. Literally. I couldn't see the top. It just went up and up and up until it vanished into the clouds. Deep breath. Whatever this was, I was climbing it. No question. The second my foot hit the first step, gravity doubled. It felt like someone strapped dumbbells to every part of my body. I kept my breathing steady, kept my head down, and focused on one step at a time. Don't look ahead. Don't look to the sides. Then the stairs started getting creepy. Monstrous shadows appeared on the jade surface. Roaring and snarling echoed from every direction. I could hear something walking behind me. Tap, 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 and I felt eyes drilling into the back of my skull. Every hair on my neck stood up. I did not turn around. This was Xiaoyao sect, a legitimate, righteous organization. They were not going to feed a 6-year-old to actual monsters. This was a fear test. The beasts were scary, but they were only scary. Once I figured that out, I started to calm down. The growling became background noise. The creepy staring feeling became almost tolerable. Then the beasts got aggressive. A roar blasted my left ear, followed by the sound of jaws snapping shut right next to my head.
Breathe. Climb. Breathe. Climb.
Then I saw it. Blocking the stairs ahead, a massive jet black snake, thick as a barrel, coiled and ready to strike. Its head was pulled back, muscles tensed, locked onto me like I was a mouse. My heart was doing drum solos. I switched to staring at my own feet. The hissing got louder, wet, slithery, close. I could see the snake's shadow on the jade steps. The shadow snake launched itself at me, mouth wide open. The snake lunged straight through me, like a soap bubble. Just poof, gone. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding for the last 40 seconds. Called it illusion. I knew it. My legs were still shaking though. Let's not talk about that. One step, another step, another. The beast sounds faded behind me, but the pressure on my body kept cranking up like someone was slowly stacking bricks on my shoulders. Then the temperature started rising. The white jade stairs turned fire red. The air itself felt like it was licking me with actual flames. My skin went scarlet. Sweat poured down my face, so fast it glued my eyes shut. I'd squeeze the sweat out, and fresh sweat would immediately flood back in. My clothes were soaked through. Blisters formed on the soles of my feet, then popped with every step, leaving bloody footprints on the burning stairs. My one thought on repeat, if I'm not dead, I keep climbing. Meanwhile, at Xiaoyao sect headquarters, which I obviously didn't know about at the time, apparently some gorgeous, cold-eyed immortal sensed my test results and literally dropped everything he was doing. Senior brother, we finally got a supreme grade wind spiritual root. I'm taking the day off. Junior brother, remember the sect rules. You cannot claim a disciple early. Relax. I'm just putting a bookmark on her so nobody steals her. My master said before she ascended that the next peak lord of Tongling Peak must have a supreme grade wind root. Do you know how rare those are? I'm not letting this one slip away. Cool, cool, cool. Immortals were fighting over me, and I was too busy bleeding on stairs to know. Back on the stairway of suffering, my feet were absolutely shredded. Every step made my whole body tremble. But I hadn't stopped once.
Not once.
Then I took one more step, and whoosh, freezing wind hit my bloody feet, and the blood froze solid. The fire phase was over. Welcome to the ice phase. The stairs were coated in thick ice. My soaked clothes turned into a rigid frozen shell around my body. And here's the really fun part. My bloody feet were now frozen to the ice. Every single step meant literally ripping my foot skin off the surface. A trail of red footprints in the ice behind me. Like a horror movie directed by a fitness instructor. The pressure kept increasing. My bones were creaking and groaning under the weight. I gave up walking and started crawling, hands and knees, dragging myself up. My breathing was ragged, but I forced it steady. My eyelashes were crusted with frozen sweat. My fingers were turning blue. Same thought. Same mantra. Not dead yet? Keep climbing. I didn't know how long I'd been at it. Hours? Days? Time stopped existing. There was only the next step. Then my body finally gave out. The pressure pinned me flat. I couldn't move my arms. Couldn't feel my legs. I was a frozen, bloody pancake on an ice staircase. And that's when I saw it. The top. 8 steps away. Something exploded inside me. Courage? Adrenaline?
Pure spite?
I don't know. But I started moving again, dragging my creaking, frozen body inch by inch. 8 steps.
7.
6. Come on, come on, come on. Point 1. I hauled my last numb, useless leg onto the final step and flash. Light washed over me. Every wound healed. Every blister gone. Frozen clothes restored to perfect condition. Even my feet were smooth and whole again, like the last however many hours of torture never happened. Then a glowing white screen appeared in front of me. At the top, those who have reached the summit of the Millennium Stairway to Immortality. Below that title, 2 names.
Just 2.
In 1,000 years. One was Pei Jinan. The other was me. What? Only 2 people have made it to the top in 1,000 years? And I'm one of them? Who is this Pei Jinan person? What kind of monster were they? The screen vanished, and a single dewdrop materialized out of thin air and sank into my forehead. A voice, ancient, deep, sounding like it had been around since the dinosaurs, echoed in my head. You are worthy. Very dramatic. No idea what the dewdrop does yet. Adding it to my figure-out-later pile. Before I could even process any of this, I got teleported to a breezy, elegant pavilion. And sitting across from me was, okay, wow, possibly the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. White robes, black hair flowing in the wind, face like it was carved from jade. Full immortal aesthetic, 10 out of 10. He smiled gently, waved my green jade disc into his hand, glanced at it, and his eyebrows twitched up just slightly. You reached the summit? Impressive. He tapped the disc a few times and handed it back. Do not mention what happened after the summit to anyone. Now go. And before I could even say yes sir or excuse me what, whoosh, teleported again. I landed on a flying ship. An actual flying ship. Around me, 4 other kids were plastered against the railing, staring down at the shrinking city below with their jaws hanging open. I joined them just in time to see the cloud mirror on the platform below shrink into a beam of light and disappear into an immortal sleeve. The 2 testing immortals flew up on their swords, literal swords, in the air like it was public transit, and landed on the ships. I noticed there was a second ship floating slightly lower and behind ours, carrying about 100 kids. I recognized some of them from the spiritual root test. They'd shown 3, 4, even 5 colors. But they were on the big ship. We 5 were on the small, exclusive one. VIP section, baby. The immortals made some hand gestures I couldn't follow, and both ships turned and began flying away. Yushue's city shrank behind us. The other kids got quiet. Some had red eyes. Leaving home. Leaving family. Stepping into a world of immortals. The whole, you might never come back, thing was hitting them.
Me?
No family here.
No attachments.
All I felt was excitement. A new world, a top-tier sect, and a future I got to build from scratch. Once the city disappeared from view completely, the immortal who'd been meditating on our ship stood up and walked over with a smirk.
So,
Which one of you little ones is crying? Nobody, actually. All 5 of us had passed the stairway of pain. We weren't the crying type. A couple of the younger ones had slightly red eyes, but they pulled it together fast. We lined up, and she introduced herself.
you've passed the exam.
You're now outer disciples of Xiaoyao sect. I'm Yang Charan, call me Auntie Yang. She pointed to the other immortal. That's Lu Huyun, Uncle Lu. We'll be training you until you make it to inner disciple rank. One kid raised their hand. Auntie Yang, how do we become inner disciples? By passing the exam, Auntie Yang said with a smile that was equal parts encouraging and terrifying. Then she dropped the bomb. Xiaonao is a competitive sect. If you want to make inner disciple, or better yet, catch the eye of a senior who'll take you as a personal student, you need top exam scores. And we recruit from over 100 groups across the cultivation world. Your competition isn't just these 5 people. It's everyone. We all went very quiet. Then she grinned. But don't worry. Uncle Lu and I were ranked first and second among the newest batch of inner disciples. With us coaching you, the other groups don't stand a chance. Uncle Lu started coughing loudly. Charan, let's stay on topic. I liked these 2 already. Auntie Yang was the confident trash talker and Uncle Lu was the responsible one trying to keep things professional. Great energy. Our team was going to be fine. Auntie Yang pulled out 5 green jade tokens. Hand over your ascension passes. My what now? I thought for a second. The only Xiaoya-related thing I had was the jade disc from the test. I handed it over. She pressed the disc onto the token flash, and the disc melted right into it. She handed the token back. This is your outer disciple identity badge. Junior niece Gu. Don't lose it. Thank you, Auntie Yang. Got it. After everyone got their badges, she explained, your ascension passes recorded everything during the entrance exam. Now that recording lives inside your badge. We keep it there so that throughout your long cultivation journey, you never forget the determination you had climbing those stairs. Don't forget your original intention. Something about that hit different. Xiaoya wasn't just powerful, it had actual philosophy behind it. I was starting to really like this place. My badge was beautifully carved with cloud patterns. The front read, Xiaoyao Immortal Sect Outer Disciple Qixia Peak Gu Ningyun. I flipped it over. Silver text glowed briefly. Cloud Residence. Qixia Peak Ryu Pavilion Tingfeng. Tingfeng, listening to wind. My room assignment. Cute name for a windroot cultivator. I looked away, and the text vanished. Privacy mode.
Fancy.
Then Uncle Lu stepped up. Who here can read standard cultivation script? Raise your hand. 3 of us raised our hands, me included.
Good.
Now then, he pulled out 5 octagonal stone discs and gave us a conspiratorial wink. The trip back to Xiaorao takes 3 days and 3 nights by flying ship. So, while the other groups don't know any better, let's get a head start and secretly begin your chi absorption, shall we? He was helping us cheat. On day 1. I love this man. He tossed the 5 discs onto the ship floor, and each one spawned a glowing golden circle about 5 feet wide. These are mid-grade yellow tear formation discs. They gather spiritual energy and provide protection. Good for anyone below foundation building stage. Now sit in your circles, close your eyes, and follow my instructions. Relax your body. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth.
Clear your mind.
Let go of all thoughts. I sat cross-legged in my circle and followed along. Slowly, the world went dark and quiet. Then, like someone turned on a cosmic lava lamp, colorful dots of light appeared everywhere. Drifting, floating, swirling around me. Red, blue, gold, purple. But only the green ones came to me. They slipped through my skin like tiny warm fireflies. I could actually see inside my own body now. The green dots flowed along my meridian straight into my dantian, the energy core in my lower abdomen, where they gathered into a tiny pea-sized ball of green chi. Once that little ball formed, the green dots stopped coming. Like my body went, okay, full. No more room at the inn. I opened my eyes, a little disappointed it was over so fast. The other 4 kids were still meditating. I kept quiet and tiptoed over to Auntie Yang, who was waving me over. She handed me a storage pouch, and her voice appeared directly in my head, some kind of telepathy. 1 hour to complete chi absorption. Not bad. Pick any room in the back cabin. The rest of the trip is yours to use as you wish. Now that you've absorbed chi, you can use spiritual sense to open the storage pouch. I found a room, closed the door, and scanned the pouch with my brand new spiritual sense. Gold flash, quick bond, it was mine. Inside, 2 jade slips, basically cultivation world USB drives, 2 sets of disciple robes, and 9 food boxes. The first jade slip was labeled Xiaoyao Basic Guide. It contained sect rules and a map. And not just any map. It had 3 layers: exterior, outer sect, inner sect, zoom in and out functionality, and you could input a starting point and destination for directions. It was basically Google Maps, but for immortals. I typed in Qixia Peak as my destination, set departure to my current location, selected flying as travel mode, and it immediately plotted a route. This place has GPS? Okay. Moving on to the sect rules. Page 1 didn't have much text. Just 3 lines. The 3 ancient precepts of Xiaoyao. 1. Only through personal strength does one find true freedom. 2. One who only knows how to grind is no different from a puppet. 3. When the grind gets too intense, remember to stop and check in with your heart. I stared at that third one. Grind. The word they used was Neijun. Neijuan. That's a modern Earth term. Auntie Yang had used it earlier too, and I wasn't sure I'd heard right, but now here it was in the ancient precepts. The founder of these rules was a Trnsmigratur. Someone from Earth wrote the founding principles of the #1 cultivation sect in the world. There are others like me? The first precept, yeah, totally agree, get strong. The second and third were basically saying, don't become a cultivation robot, and take mental health breaks. Revolutionary advice for a world where people literally meditate in caves for decades. Noted. Memorized. Respected. The rest of the sect rules were normal stuff. I skimmed through and moved on to the second jade slip. Compendium of Heavenly Materials. The intro page. A comprehensive record of all known natural treasures in the cultivation world, plus identification guides for pills, formations, talismans, and artifacts. And at the bottom, in bold, all Xiaoyao disciples must fully understand and memorize this compendium before their first time leaving the sect. The table of contents was intimidating, spiritual plants, minerals, demonic beasts, rare treasures, essential knowledge, pill identification,
Formation identification.
talisman identification, artifact identification. Each entry had a full 360-degree HD holographic image plus detailed info, name, function, usage, where it grows. Basically a cultivation world encyclopedia with 4K graphics. This thing was massive. This was going to be like studying for the bar exam, the medical boards, and a PhD qualifying exam all at once. But here's the thing. Back in my previous life, I had photographic memory. And now, after the spiritual spring upgrade and chi absorption, my brain felt sharper than ever. Everyone else was still meditating. I had nothing else to do. So, I parked myself by the window of my cabin, cracked open the compendium of heavenly materials, and started reading from page 1. Nerd mode activated. On the afternoon of day 3, Uncle Lu's voice appeared directly in my brain. Put on your disciple robes and come to the front. I put away my compendium. I'd been binging it for 2 days straight. Photographic memory is a cheat code. And glanced out the window. Earlier at lunch, the sky had been calm. Now, gorgeous white birds with long necks and meter-wide wingspans were gliding past the ship like living poetry. Absolutely majestic. But I couldn't be late for assembly, so I shoved my awe into a mental box and changed into my disciple uniform. The robes were white silk with silver cloud embroidery and a green sash. The second I put them on, they auto-adjusted to fit my tiny 6-year-old body perfectly. I did a few yoga poses to test mobility, zero restriction. Self-fitting magical athleisure wear. 10 out of 10. Up at the bow, Auntie Yang was teaching the two kids who couldn't read. She waved them off to go change. We'll finish literacy lessons at the sect. While waiting for everyone, I leaned over the railing and looked ahead. And my jaw dropped. Way out in front of us, floating above layers and layers of white clouds, were enormous mountain peaks suspended in midair, glowing in the sunlight like something out of a dream. One of the kids screamed, "WHOA? Is that Xiaoyao? It's huge." Uncle Lu, cool as ever. Yes. Xiaoyao is the largest sect in Yunzhou. 108 cloud floating peaks, 4 mainpeaks, 72 innerpeaks, 32 outerpeaks. What you're seeing is just a few of the outer ones. Just a few of the outer ones. This place was a flying mountain archipelago. The ship was fast, and those peaks grew closer by the second. The sect has a grand protective formation around it. Hold your identity badges. The formation reads your badge and your personal chi signature. If they match, it won't vaporize you. Comforting. Very comforting phrasing there, Uncle Lu. We passed through the clouds, and I saw the other ship, the one with 100-ish kids, peel off and descend toward a cluster of regular mountains below the floating peaks. Those lower mountains are the sect's exterior zone, where miscellaneous duty disciples live, so there was a whole tier below outer disciples. Noted. Glad I made the VIP ship. Our ship landed on a massive plaza halfway up one of the floating peaks. This is Qixia Peak, your home base. First, we're taking you to Zheng Peak, one of the 4 main peaks. All new disciples must register in the sect's Disciple Jade Registry. That's when you're officially in. We entered a grand hall full of teleportation arrays, 8 of them, each with a stone platform covered in labeled slots. Uncle Lu pointed to the first slot. Place your badge here. Wait for it to glow. Take it back. Step into the array. We went one by one. I noticed both teachers used pale blue badges, different from our green ones. Inner disciple rank. Auntie Yang cast a protective barrier around us 5. Apparently teleportation can be rough on newbies. Uncle Lu did some finger signs at the control panel, and whoosh, we shot through a beam of light and appeared in an even bigger hall. From there, we walked past several lotus ponds to a purple flowering tree. Beneath it stood a building called the Cloud Pavilion, with several groups of new disciples already waiting in line. We waited under the tree until it was our turn, then entered. Inside, floating next to Uncle Lu, was a gigantic open book. Blank pages. Hovering in midair. Uncle Lu's voice went very serious. This is the Disciple Jade Registry. Line up. Press your badge and your hand onto the page. Fair warning, if you harbor treacherous intentions, the registry will kill you on the spot. After you register, if you ever betray the sect, this book will find you no matter where you run. And what awaits you then is Punishment Peak. He paused, and something dark flickered across his face. Once you enter Punishment Peak, you won't even be allowed to die. Okay then. Message received. Don't betray Xiaoyao. Crystal clear. We all stepped up with determined eyes. Uncle Lu nodded approvingly. When it was my turn, I finally read what was written on the page. Xiaorao Sect, 11,680th class of Outer Disciples. Quick math. They recruit every 10 years. 11,680 classes times 10. This sect was over 110,000 years old. The heroine Star Moon Sect, the so-called second greatest sect, was only 8,000 years old. Xiaoyao had been around since before Star Moon's great times 1,000 grandparents were born. I pressed my badge and hand onto the page. A misty feeling swept across my palm. A drop of blood sank into the paper, and golden text appeared. Qixia Peak Gu Ningyun, and below that, in smaller text, guides. Yang Charan, Lu Huyun.
Guides.
Not teachers. Not masters. Guides. Something about that word hit me right in the chest. These two weren't just instructors. They were the people who led us to the door of a new life. Simple word. Big meaning. My respect for them quietly leveled up. On the walk back to Qixia Peak, Auntie Yang gave us the rundown. From now on, you're real Xiaorao disciples. Outer and inner disciples have the same rights and permissions. The only difference is cultivation level. Some things are simply locked until you're strong enough. Our recruitment standards are stricter than other sects. Only single or dual spiritual roots get admitted as formal disciples. Miscellaneous duty disciples can test into the outer sect later if they're exceptional. The reason new recruits start in the outer sect is that your training program is different from inner disciples. Right now, the most important thing is building your foundation. Then she reached over and ruffled the nearest kid's hair, which happened to be mine. And growing, ha ha ha, look at you tiny little noodles. A demon beast could blow you over with a sneeze. My hair instantly transformed into a bird's nest. My ability to resist, 0. She had a mortal-level head-ruffling power, and I was a defenseless 6-year-old. She finally released my poor scalp. Also, outer sect is the only place with a cafeteria. For the next few years, eat real food. Don't use fasting pills. Spiritual cuisine is great for building your foundation. A cultivation sect that tells you to eat your meals instead of skipping them with magic pills? Xiaoyao really was built different. Back at Qixia Peak, we arrived at a gate with a sign reading Ruyu Pavilion. Auntie Yang waved us through with our badges. Everything behind this gate is Ruyu Pavilion territory. This year's class is just U5. Your cloud residences are assigned based on your spiritual root type. Most of our classes and training will happen here too. The cafeteria and other stuff is shared with all of Qixia Peak. Just use your map. Inside was a small plaza about the size of a soccer field. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. sharp, meet here. We're going to book Peak to choose your cultivation methods. And with that, dismissed. I pulled up my immortal GPS and navigated to my assigned residence. Tingfeng, listening to wind. Oh,
My God.
it was a whole courtyard on a lake, with an open view and a gentle breeze that felt like the wind was personally welcoming me home. Along the lakeshore grew pink flowering trees, their blossom-heavy branches cascading down like a waterfall of petals. Absolutely stunning. And because I'd been nerding out on the compendium for 2 days straight, I actually recognized them. Lingxing peach trees. They love open lakesides. They help with mental focus and calm. They bloom every 3 years, fruit every 3 years, and both the petals and fruit can be brewed into wine. Knowledge. Already paying off. Thank you, photographic memory. I pressed my badge to the courtyard gate and learned it had a high-grade earth tier formation that could block spiritual sense from anyone at the spirit separation stage or below. Privacy mode activated. The suite inside was fully furnished. Study, cultivation room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. The whole package. The study had a cushion, a low desk with full calligraphy supplies, and a black lamp cover hiding a permanent glow pearl for nighttime reading. There was a daybed, a tea set, and empty bookshelves waiting to be filled. The cultivation room had an octagonal slot in the floor, perfect fit for the gathering and protection formation disc Uncle Lu had given us. I dropped it in. Golden light flashed, and the formation hummed to life. It could absorb ambient spiritual energy to sustain itself. 0 maintenance. I love this sect. Now, I'd been thinking about this. While at Xiaoyao, I should not use my pocket dimension. This wasn't some backwater town like Yanlin. There were supremely powerful cultivators everywhere. My courtyard formation was good, but it couldn't block everyone. If some bored elder at the fusion stage decided to casually scan the sect with their divine sense and noticed a disciple blinking in and out of existence, yeah, that'd be bad. Plus, the spiritual energy in my pocket space was way weaker than what Ruyu Pavilion had. And my specific courtyard, Tingfeng? The wind spiritual energy here was denser than anywhere else in the pavilion. They'd literally placed me in the optimal spot for my root type. These people thought of everything. I did sneak one thing out of the space, though, that amazing meditation cushion from the thatched hut. Placed it right next to the formation disc. A girl's gotta have her creature comforts. The kitchen had all the cookware you could want, but 0 ingredients. Skipping that for now. The bedroom was elegant without being fussy. Screen, bed with curtains, vanity. Every piece of furniture had this subtle, almost magical quality to it, like the wood grain itself was humming with energy. Each item had a little label in the corner. Tianxia home furnishings, bedding, manufactured recent date, brand new, custom ordered for incoming disciples. The bathroom made me want to cry with happiness. A circular pool with a smooth jade bottom, a hot water inlet that ran continuously, and a drain that could be opened or closed at will. Basically, an immortal hot tub, plus a fully stocked cabinet of bath products. Look, I know I got healed after the stairway of pain, but I hadn't had a real bath in days. I cannonballed into that pool so fast.
Ah.
Warm water.
Clean skin.
The simple joys of life. 1,000 times better than the wooden tub I'd stolen from the Gu household. Post-bath, my stomach was growling like a demon beast, so I headed out toward the cafeteria. But before I could leave the courtyard, someone knocked on my gate. It was a girl about half a head taller than me, when Xian, the other girl in our group. Ningyun. Wanna walk to the cafeteria together? I peeked past her and saw the 3 boys from our group waiting under the peach trees. Jun Luo, cool aura, eyes averted, standing to the side like a brooding anime character. Classic, I'm too aloof for social situations energy. Mu Chenza, leaning against the tree trunk, casually chatting with Jun Luo like they were already best friends. Main character vibes. Jiang Yao, beaming at me with a sunshine smile and waving enthusiastically. Golden Retriever energy. First impressions? Nobody seemed stuck up or looking for trouble. No, I'm better than you attitudes. No drama starters.
Good team.
I could work with this. Sure, I smiled back at Wenxian. The cafeteria was already buzzing with other new disciples from different groups. The spread was ridiculous. Rows and rows of dishes made from low-grade spiritual ingredients, perfect for our cultivation level. I recognized some items from the food boxes on the ship. Then I saw the sign, self-serve, unlimited,
free.
This sect was loaded. I grabbed a reasonable plate of interesting-looking dishes. When Xian had found her favorite food from the ship and was about to load up her plate like it was Thanksgiving, then she glanced at my portion, hesitated, and took less. Peer pressure works even in the cultivation world, I guess. We found an empty table and sat down. All 5 of us. Jiang Yao was chewing on a chopstick nervously.
So,
choosing cultivation methods tomorrow. Anyone nervous? Not really nervous, more excited, Mu Chenza said, eyes practically sparkling. I've heard Xiaoyao's book Peak has the most complete library in the entire cultivation world. And the cultivation method hall supposedly has god-tier techniques. A cultivator only gets to choose one method for their entire life, so I actually turned 6 last year and deliberately waited a whole year without cultivating just so I could pick mine here. When Xian frowned, wasn't losing a whole year of training risky? Totally worth it. Mu Chenza leaned in conspiratorially. My family elders said Xiaorao is completely different from other sects. If you get the chance, do not miss it. I only waited 1 year. Some people waited 4. The only reason they didn't wait longer is because Xiaoyao won't accept anyone over 10 who's already started cultivating. So Mu Chenza was from a cultivation family. Made sense. And honestly, a year's delay was nothing in immortal timescales. These people lived for centuries. Jiang Yao looked more worried now. But when Xian and I haven't finished learning all the standard characters yet, will that mess us up tomorrow? When Xian's face clouded over too, Mu Chenza tried to reassure them. Probably not. I mean, if it was a problem, the teachers wouldn't be sending us tomorrow, right? They still looked uneasy, so Mu Chenza elbowed the one person at the table who'd been silently eating this entire time. Jun Luo, what do you think? Jun Luo set down his chopsticks, dabbed his mouth with a napkin like the 6-year-old aristocrat he apparently was, and said in his cool little voice, "It's fine." Then he actually explained something helpful. Once we enter the method hall, we just close our eyes, circulate our spiritual energy, and feel with our hearts. The right cultivation method will come to us on its own. Before anyone could respond, a commotion erupted near the dish return area. Some poor kid had put his tray down with leftover food still on it. The platform glowed, and a translucent spirit bird burst out of it, flew up to the ceiling, and started circling the entire cafeteria while loudly announcing, "Bayou Pavilion Disciple Hesioen. Food waste exceeding limit. Reward. 3 days of cafeteria duty. Report tomorrow at 5 a.m. Do not be late. 3 times. It said this 3 times. Then it stamped a mark on the kid's hand and vanished back into the platform. The boy's face was the color of a tomato. Jiang Yao was frozen mid-chew. 3 days of punishment is one thing, but getting called out in front of the entire peak, my face was doing something complicated. That was genuinely the most socially devastating anti-food waste system I'd ever seen. Public shaming via magical bird. Xiaoyao did not play around. When Xian was quietly rearranging her plate, looking like she'd just dodged a bullet. She'd almost loaded up at the buffet earlier before glancing at my modest portion. Girl was probably thanking every deity she knew right now. Next morning, book peek. Cultivation method hall. Auntie Yang's instructions were basically what Jun Luo had said. Close your eyes, run your energy, let the method find you. That kid was annoyingly wise for a 6-year-old. I stepped through the doors and, surprise, didn't enter a library. Instead, I got transported into some kind of separate dimension. Just me, floating in pitch-black void, surrounded by hundreds of glowing orbs. I looked at the nearest one, a red orb with a book inside called Fire Crossing Method. It noticed me looking. It floated away, like scooted back a few inches. Dismissively. Me, a wind spiritual root, getting rejected by a fire technique. Excuse me? Fine.
Fini.
I don't want you either, you little red snob. I sat cross-legged in the void and started running my chi circulation. Unlike on the ship where I'd absorbed outside energy, this time my tiny pea-sized chi ball started moving through my meridians on its own, following a set path. After a while, something shifted. I could hear my own heartbeat, crystal clear. My thoughts sharpened. It was like someone peeled a layer of fog off my brain. I opened my eyes. Every single red orb was gone. In their place, hundreds of green orbs, all crowded around me like groupies at a concert. The closer ones were brighter, more mysterious, practically vibrating with energy. My eyes locked onto the closest, brightest, most powerful one immediately. I'd just watched this absolute diva of an orb shoulder check its way to the front, shoving other green orbs aside like, move, she's mine. Full mean girl's energy. Queen bee behavior. But the second it noticed me looking at it, total personality flip. It drifted up to my hand and started nuzzling me, rubbing against my fingers like an attention-starved kitten. I held out my palm. It plopped right in. Flash of light. The orb disappeared, and a book materialized. Xianyuan Wind Control Scroll, Immortal Grade Upper Tier Cultivation Method. The description was impressive. Refines wind spiritual energy quality, improves control, increases casting speed for wind techniques, enhances precision. If you ascend to the immortal realm, it helps comprehend the laws of wind. At maximum mastery, full control over wind itself, and the title of Wind God. I mean, that's really good. But something in my gut hesitated. My fingers rubbed the pages, and I couldn't shake this feeling of, not quite. Before I could decide whether to browse other options, every green orb around me suddenly trembled, like they'd sensed a predator. Then they scattered to the sides, clearing a wide path in front of me. From the deepest, darkest depths of the void, a purple light rocketed toward me at impossible speed. It tore through the corridor of terrified green orbs and stopped dead, hovering right in front of my face. The book in my hands already reverted to a green orb and retreated behind the purple one. Even the immortal grade diva technique was like, nope, you're the boss, I'll just be back here. My heart slammed. The purple light dissolved, revealing an ancient, heavy tome floating before me. Records of Xiaorao wind, and beneath the title, a single line. Wind is not defined. The moment I read those words, my mind went completely clear, like lightning striking still water. Every thought, every doubt, every hesitation gone, replaced by one absolute certainty. This is the one. I opened the cover. Records of Xiaoyao wind, God grade upper tier cultivation method. Upon cultivation, ability to create original wind techniques, divine abilities, and cultivation methods. One sentence. That's all the description needed. Let me break down why this was insane. Throughout all of cultivation history, only once-in-a-generation prodigies could create their own techniques, And even then, it took perfect conditions and a lifetime of effort to produce maybe one. This method gave you the guaranteed ability to create wind techniques, divine abilities, and cultivation methods. Unlimited creative potential. And that tagline, wind is not defined, my brain was already spinning. Attack, defense, speed, transformation, invisible, tangible, gentle breeze, devastating hurricane. Wind could be anything. It had no limits, no box.
No ceiling.
God grade upper tier. Not just God grade. Upper tier God grade. The instant I committed in my heart, the book dissolved into light and shot straight into my forehead. The chi refining stage contents immediately appeared in my mind. The green orbs dispersed, and I found myself standing outside the method hall, blinking in the sunlight, surrounded by a SEA of tiny disciples in matching white robes.
Wait.
Where's my team? I stood there looking lost among hundreds of identical little kids until someone yanked my sleeve. One Xian. I knew you'd get lost. She dragged me through the crowd to a flower bed where Auntie Yang and Jun Luo were already waiting. Mu Chenza and Zhang Yao aren't out yet. Well, wait. I nodded. Cultivation methods were private. If an enemy knew yours, they could figure out your weaknesses. So even though everyone around us was buzzing with excitement, nobody was asking, so what did you get? Unspoken rule. While we waited, Auntie Yang was reading a jade slip and I had nothing to do, so I closed my eyes and started mentally reviewing the spiritual plants section of the compendium. Because when you've got a God-grade technique chilling in your brain, what else is there to stress about? Back at Qixia Peak by mid-morning, Auntie Yang marched us into a classroom on the second floor of a little 3-story building. Welcome to Phase 1 of your training. Here's the schedule. 8 days total. For the first 7, mornings are with me, ancient script studies. Afternoons are with Uncle Lu, physical conditioning. Day 8 is the exam. Every phase exam goes on your permanent record. You need to pass all of them before you're ever allowed to leave the sect. I strongly recommend not failing and having to retake anything. Then she looked at Wen Xian and Zhang Yao. You two show up early at 7 a.m. for the next 3 days. I'll teach you the rest of the standard characters. With a flick of her sleeve, jade slips appeared on every desk, complete guide to ancient script, and class began. Here's the thing, after absorbing chi, my brain was running at like 2x speed. Everything clicked faster. No wonder Uncle Lu had us do the chi absorption on the ship. Sneaky genius move. After the first lesson, I had a revelation. These ancient characters? They were the same script as that unreadable book in my pocket dimension. The one I'd found on the cushion in the thatched hut. The book. Once I finished learning ancient script, I could finally read it. My inner nerd was vibrating with excitement. Whatcha thinking about, Ningyun? Lunchtime. When Xian tapped my shoulder, I snapped out of it. Coming. I'm starving. Zhang Yao was already strategizing. Physical training this afternoon is going to be brutal. We need to eat. When Xian nodded firmly. Agreed. But only take what you can finish. I am not getting bird-shamed in front of the entire peak. The food waste trauma was real. That spirit bird had scarred an entire generation of disciples. On the way to the cafeteria, we passed some disciples from other groups swinging wooden swords around. One of them walked past us and gave us this little look, slightly superior, like, oh, you don't have swords yet? Cute. We all exchanged glances and shrugged. Whatever, sword boy. Personally, I trusted our teacher's approach way more. Sharpen the axe before chopping the tree, as they say. Physical conditioning first meant better sword skills later. And ancient script meant we could actually read stuff at book peak without getting stuck on mystery characters. Our teachers ranked first and second for a reason. After lunch, I took a quick nap, then spent my remaining free time grinding the compendium. This thing was a monster. The more I read, the more I realized how much I didn't know. Like, if I walked into a treasure realm right now, I'd probably walk past 80% of the good stuff because I simply wouldn't recognize it. Whoever made the rule about memorizing this encyclopedia before leaving the sect was an absolute genius. I'd set up this wind chime-looking thing on my desk. Turns out it was basically an alarm clock. It chimed, I put away my studies, and headed to the plaza. Afternoon. Physical training.
Day 1.
Uncle Lu stood in front of us, with a pleasant smile. Today's workout is simple. Just run 50 laps around the plaza. The plaza was the size of a soccer field. One lap, 400 meters. 50 laps, 20 kilometers. We were 6 and 7 years old, with tiny legs. I flash back to my previous life, where I nearly died running 800 meters for my college fitness test. And now I was supposed to run 20,000 meters on toddler legs? But hey, I had the chance to become an actual immortal. I wasn't going to whine about running. Whatever it took, however much it hurt, I was pushing to my absolute limit. Uncle Lou taught us proper running form and breathing rhythm, jogged the first lap with us at an easy pace, then let us loose. I kept his pace. Steady. Sustainable. 10 laps in, nobody had fallen behind yet. These cultivation world kids were built different. Growing up bathed in spiritual energy apparently gave them way better stamina than normal children. 20 laps, when Xian and Jiang Yao had started dropping back. Jun Luo and Mu Chinza were still beside me, but I could hear them breathing hard.
Me?
Barely winded. Breathing still smooth and even.
That.
Shouldn't be possible. Jun Luo and Mu Chinza were clearly from cultivation families. They'd eaten spiritual food their entire lives. Their bodies should have been stronger than mine. The only difference between us was the spiritual spring water. That stuff wasn't just a body purification. It had fundamentally upgraded my physical capabilities way beyond what I'd initially thought. Mental note: drink spring water after training today and see what happens. Even though 20 laps felt easy, I didn't speed up. First time running this distance, no idea where my actual limit was. Save energy for the back half. 30 laps. Starting to feel it now. Mu Chinza and Jun Luo had fallen behind. I didn't look back. Wen Xian and Jiang Yao were, technically, still running. In the same way that a glacier is technically still moving. Their legs were shuffling forward at what could charitably be called walking pace. I'd lapped them so many times I lost count.
40 laps.
Jun Luo and Mu Chinza had also joined the zombie shuffle club. And Wen Xian and Jiang Yao. I blinked. You know that game, Plants vs. Zombies? The undead dragging their heavy feet forward in slow motion? Yeah, that was them. Identical energy. But here's the thing, not a single one of them stopped. Nobody sat down. Nobody quit. They were all suffering, all barely moving, but every single one of them kept going. I felt a genuine swell of respect for my teammates. Then I snapped back to my own situation. I'd picked up speed after lap 30, and now at lap 40, I was gasping too. My legs felt like concrete blocks. My arms were stiff. Every stride was a negotiation between my brain and my body. But I locked in, maintained form, maintained speed. My one brain cell was chanting, do
not slow down.
One lap. Another lap. These last few laps felt harder than the previous 40 combined. Every meter was agony. Every step was an argument. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. My brain invented a survival strategy. Lie to myself. Just one more lap, Ningyun. Just one. That's all. Then when I finished that lap. Okay, just one more. Last one. Promise. I did this over and over. Full-on self-hypnosis. I was so deep in the zone, I had zero awareness of anything outside my own suffering. What I didn't know was that the other four, who had all slowed to zombie walk mode, saw the smallest, youngest kid on the team still actually running and quietly started jogging again. Inspired by a 6-year-old. You're welcome. I also didn't know that Uncle Lou, who'd been casually reading a book under a tree this whole time, had put his book down and was watching me with spiritual energy flickering at his fingertips, ready to catch me if my body gave out. Because apparently you can push a mortal body to collapse even in the cultivation world. Good to know. Would have been nice to hear before the run. I'd completely lost count of my laps. I was about to feed myself another, just one more, lie when I heard a voice? Someone calling my name? From very far away? Uncle Lou had appeared next to me. You finished 50 laps, Ningyun. No response from me. My brain was buffering. He said it again.
Oh.
50.
Done. Done?
The instant my brain accepted this information, the string holding me together snapped. Every ounce of exhaustion I'd been suppressing hit me like a freight train. My legs buckled, and I almost face-planted into the ground. Uncle Lou caught my arm lightning fast and kept me walking. Don't stop suddenly. Your body can't handle it. Walk it off. Sweat was dripping off my eyelashes, completely blinding me. He wiped my face with a handkerchief. Immortal-level babysitter service. After a few supported laps, my body remembered how to function independently. He let go, checked that I wasn't going to collapse, and went back to the sideline. I walked 6 more slow laps and then slumped down under the tree next to him. I was destroyed. Absolutely wrecked. But also, kind of proud. I'd actually done it.
50 laps.
All running. No walking breaks. That was genuinely impressive for a 6-year-old body, if I do say so myself. While waiting for the others, I closed my eyes and started mentally reviewing the newest sections of the compendium. Because even half-dead, the grind never stops. Eventually, when Xian called my name, everyone had finished running, walking, or shuffling, and gathered under the tree. Not a single quitter in the group. Uncle Lou flicked his sleeve, and 8 little packets of spiritual herbs appeared floating in front of each of us. These are for Phase 1 physical conditioning. When you get back, put 1 packet in your bath each night. I noticed my packets and when Xian's had different colored wrapping from the boys. Different herbs for different body types. They really thought of everything here. We dragged our sweaty, broken selves straight to the cafeteria. I ate double my normal amount and barely felt full. My body was a furnace burning through calories. Even after eating, I was mentally and physically drained. My head was bobbing like a sleepy owl. When Xian and Zhang Yao scarfed down their food and bolted, they still had evening tutoring for standard characters. I shed a silent tear of sympathy for them. Running 20 kilometers and homework? Criminal. Jun Luo and Mu Chenza insisted on walking me home to Tingfeng. They literally watched from a distance until I was through my courtyard gate before leaving. Me, the tiniest, youngest member of the squad, getting escorted home like a kindergartner. I wanted to protest, but resistance was futile against their protective instincts. Back in my courtyard, I scrubbed off the sweat, drained the bath, refilled it with clean water, and opened the first herb packet. I recognized some of these from the compendium, all suited for early-stage body conditioning and foundation building. The herbs dissolved on contact with water, turning the whole pool a soft green with a lovely herbal fragrance. I sank in, and warm herbal energy seeped through my skin, flowing along specific pathways in my body. Everywhere it went, fatigue melted away and was replaced by this feeling of renewal, like my muscles were being rebuilt from scratch. By the time the water turned clear again, I climbed out feeling like a completely different person.
No soreness. No aches.
Fresh and light. If I weren't mentally exhausted, I honestly could have run another 50 laps. But I wasn't done yet. I went to the cultivation room, sat on my cushion, and took a sip of spiritual spring water from my pocket dimension. This time, with my spiritual sense active, I could actually watch what happened. The spring water broke into countless tiny lights that spread through my meridians and muscles, reaching every corner of my body. My meridians got tougher. My muscles got denser. Even my mental fatigue started fading. When I felt the energy running out of steam partway through, I took a few more sips. I kept going until the lights had reached every inch of my body, and I felt that familiar, full sensation. Spring water buffet, complete. Feeling recharged, I finally pulled up the God-grade cultivation method sitting in my brain, the records of Xiaorao Wind, and started reading the Qi refining Layer 1 instructions. Following the method, I guided my Qi starting from the base of my torso, up along the center line of my abdomen. As my Qi flowed through each acupoint, wind spiritual energy from the outside started entering through those same points, merging with my internal Qi. By the time I'd completed the circuit, 24 points on the Ren meridian, 28 on the Du meridian, forming the small heavenly cycle, 52 streams of external wind energy were pouring into my body simultaneously. A massive river of spiritual energy thundered into my dantian. But because this was a God-grade technique, it flowed at incredible speed without damaging my meridians at all. In fact, a small portion of the energy was being absorbed by the meridians themselves, making them wider and tougher with every cycle. And then I noticed something new. After completing one full cycle, my spiritual energy had changed. Mixed in with the normal wind chi was something else, a strange, profound, almost ancient force. I couldn't name it, couldn't explain it, but I could feel it, mysterious, powerful, and unlike anything described in the basic cultivation texts. This mysterious energy appeared in my chi, in my meridians, in my dantian, everywhere the cycle touched. Would I ask this stuff? I experimented. Could I control it? I tried pulling out just plain wind chi from my dantian, no mysterious force attached. It worked, easy as thinking it. Then I tried pulling out only the mysterious force, without any wind chi.
Nope.
Not strong enough yet for that. But being able to separately use pure wind chi or wine chi infused with this unknown power, that was already two combat modes right there. Two flavors of spiritual energy at chi refining layer 1. My instincts were screaming. This mysterious force was something big. Something that would matter a lot later. God-grade technique benefits. Already kicking in. My wind chime alarm went off and I opened my eyes, finishing my last cultivation cycle.
6 Uhr morgens.
Class wasn't until 10. After a full night of cultivating, I felt amazing, and my dantian was almost full. One more push and I'd break through to chi refining layer 1.
But, nah.
Too fast. That felt reckless. I decided to compress my spiritual energy instead, pack it tighter and tighter until I literally couldn't hold it back anymore, then break through. Quality over speed. I did a quick self-check on that mysterious power for my God-grade method. Good news. From the outside, it was completely invisible. Internally, it was blazing like a bonfire, but externally, nothing. 0 suspicious readings. Stealth mode. As for nearly filling my entire dantian in one night of cultivation. Look, all Xiaoyao formal disciples are talented. I was just a little bit faster. Totally normal. Very reasonable. Nothing to see here. This was exactly my style. Show enough to get what I needed, hide the rest as my trump card. I hit the cafeteria early, just a handful of people there. I was chomping through a spiritual wheat bun and slurping hot spiritual rice porridge when Jun Luo walked in. He saw me already almost done eating, and his eyes flickered with surprise. I waved. Morning, Jun Luo, he nodded, his ice prince expression softening approximately 0.3 degrees. Progress. Back in my room, I had over an hour before class, so obviously I pulled out the compendium again. My gut told me the training schedule was only going to get more intense from here. Better cram this encyclopedia now while things were easy, and I use that word very loosely. Imagine passing every single combat exam only to be stuck at the sect because you couldn't memorize enough plant species. That would be the most embarrassing failure in cultivation history. Day 8. Ancient script exam. I sat at my desk. On my left, a sheet of yellow paper covered in ancient characters and some weird, twisted line patterns. My job. Translate the whole thing into standard script within 1 incense stick's burning time. The content described a lost formation engraving technique from 30,000 years ago. Nearly 1,000 characters. And I had to write it all out with a brush pen. My ancient script was solid. I barely needed to think. I read and wrote simultaneously, flowing straight through the translation without pausing. Even at that speed, I barely finished before time was called. No time to proofread. When Auntie Yang announced, "Time's up," I very clearly heard Jiang Yao behind me let out a sound that could only be described as the dying wail of a small animal. Quick scan of everyone's faces. Yep, only Jiang Yao didn't finish.
Buddy.
Hang in there. Auntie Yang collected everything. Results will appear on your identity badges. Now head to the plaza. Uncle Lu is waiting. Physical training exam. After 7 days of increasingly brutal conditioning plus nightly herb baths, this wasn't as terrifying as I'd expected. The benchmark, 120 laps in half a sure hour for top marks. Anything above 120 got an outstanding rating. For reference, I could now run over 300 laps in a full sure hour at maximum effort. Day 1 me could barely survive 50. Spiritual herbs plus spring water plus daily torture, training, had turned my little body into a machine. All 5 of us got outstanding. The team was elite. Uncle Lu gathered us together afterward, looking at 5 sweat-drenched, half-dead little radish children with a warm smile. These past days been tough. When Xian waved her hand weakly, voice barely above a whisper. Tough isn't the word. Nearly deceased is more accurate. Uncle Lu chuckled. So, do you know what the fastest way to improve your strength is? Jiang Yao scratched his head. Train until you die? Grind until you die? No, there's a smarter way. Uncle Lu leaned in. Besides building your foundation, real combat is the fastest way to absorb everything you've learned. On Chuandao Peak, there's a challenge tower. Disciples can pay sect points to train inside, simulated opponents matched to your level, 0 risk of actual death. The first floor adjusts to any cultivation level. Once you learn combat skills, you can start using it. Jiang Yao's mouth fell open. His tiny face was radiating pure longing. That kid was born to grind. Jun Luo looked completely unsurprised. Probably knew about it already. The well-informed little aristocrat. Then Uncle Lu hit us with the wink.
So,
Wanna earn some sect points early? Hold on. The basic guide clearly stated you needed Qi refining layer 3 to accept missions and earn points. Was Uncle Lu about to show us a loophole? Book Peak has a permanent mission for translating ancient scripts. Since ancient script experts are rare, the point rewards are generous. Your Annie Yang is a direct disciple of Book Peak, and since translation work has 0 combat risk, it doesn't trigger the Layer 3 mission restriction. She can assign translation tasks directly to you. My eyes went wide. So if we earn points this way now, then by the time we learn combat, we can go straight to the challenge tower while everyone else is still saving up? Exactly. Uncle Lu nodded. And this advantage is exclusive to our group. Ancient script isn't a required course. We're the only group that teaches it. Auntie Yang is Elder Lin's personal disciple and the only one from our generation of inner disciples who entered Book Peak. Meaning the other group's mentors probably can't even read ancient script. When Xian inhaled sharply. Following Auntie Yang is literally a cheat code. Absolutely guaranteed happiness. I agreed. But my mind was already spinning further than that. This wasn't just about points and the tower. Ancient script was a rare skill. Book Peak access was a rare resource. And we had an inside connection to both. The compounding advantages of being in this group were going to snowball hard over time. Our teachers didn't just rank first and second by being strong. They were strategic. And they were passing every single advantage down to us.
Best
mentors ever. Here's what my big brain realized. That ancient script exam I just took, the text was about a lost formation technique from 30,000 years ago. I couldn't fully understand it yet, but I'd memorized every word. And even from a simple translation, I could feel how deep that knowledge was. If I kept taking translation missions, I wouldn't just be earning points. I'd be absorbing ancient wisdom for free. Getting paid to learn. This was the ultimate hustle. Ever since I started cultivating with the records of Xiaoyao Wind, I'd had this gut feeling that all knowledge was interconnected somehow. The more I accumulated, the deeper my foundation would become. Someday, all of it would be useful. Right on cue, my identity badge flashed. That's probably your ancient script scores. Check them. I scanned it with my spiritual sense. Outstanding. Me. Honestly, I hadn't had time to proofread my exam, so I genuinely wasn't sure. But apparently my speed translation game was just that good. One Xian looked confused at her badge. I'm positive I didn't get a single character wrong. How did I only get excellent? Uncle Lu, if you were just accurate but your layout was messy and hard to read, excellent is normal. When Xian remembered her wall of text with 0 formatting answer and went quiet. Got it, you guys and your formatting luxury, Jiang Yao wailed. I didn't even finish. I got a B grade. Am I gonna have to retake? No, D grade is the retake line, Uncle Lu said gently. Getting a B without finishing means everything you did right was 100% correct. Jiang Yao clutched his chest. Oh, thank goodness. Muchinza draped an arm over Jiang Yao's shoulder, then suddenly turned to Uncle Lu with a suspicious grin. Uncle Lu. You seem to know a lot about how Auntie Yang thinks when she's grading papers. Dead. Silence. Uncle Lu's ears turned bright red.
That's probably because
She taught me ancient script once. I stared at those crimson ears and thought, interesting. Very interesting. Before Mu Chinza could interrogate further, Uncle Lu speed pivoted to me. Ningyun. How did you three do? Jun Luo, Mu Chinza, and I all got outstanding. Uncle Lu nodded proudly. Excellent. You're the best students I've ever taught. Mu Chinza tilted his head. You've taught other classes before, Uncle Lu? Ha ha ha. No, actually. Awkward laugh. Subject change. Anyway, take your herb bath after lunch, then meet at the classroom at 1 p.m. Auntie Yang's taking you to Book Peak for your first translation mission. Book Peak. Administrative Hall. Unlike the Method Hall where only newbies went, this place was bustling with blue-sashed inner disciples coming and going. To avoid drawing attention and tipping off other groups about our secret point-earning scheme, Auntie Yang led us through a hidden path behind flower beds and trees, in through a back door, into a room that screamed, ancient library office, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, yellowed manuscripts, aged scrolls, history practically dripping off the walls. Several inner disciples were working at desks and shelves. At the back, a disciple was organizing mission tags. He saw Auntie Yang and pulled 5 palm-sized wooden tokens from the wall. Senior Sister Yang, I've prepared 5 sets of short ancient texts as you requested. Great, thanks. She turned to us. Start with simple single-page translations. Once you're comfortable, you can work up to full ancient manuscripts. She introduced us to Uncle Wang, the disciple managing ancient text missions. We handed over our badges for registration. All set. Translation materials are stored in the token. Submit within 1 month. I scanned my token. Inside was a stack of well-preserved ancient documents about half my height, similar to the exam paper, plus blank sheets for writing translations, and a mission description, 100 ancient text pages. Total reward, 200 points. 2 points per page. At my exam speed, that was 2 points per incense stick. Just sitting, reading, and writing.
no monsters, no danger,
No risk of death.
just
Translating. Was earning points seriously this easy? Back at the classroom, Auntie Yang laid down the rules, and she was not messing around. This work is simple, but there are 3 non-negotiable requirements. 1. 0 errors. 2. Clean, organized layout with high readability. 3. No corrections or smudges. If you mess up a single character or get a stain, redo the entire page from scratch. During submission, they'll spot check. If even 1 page fails inspection, they destroy all your translations and send back all the originals. You'd have to redo everything. I grabbed a pen and paper and wrote down every single rule. This was not something to get sloppy about. She showed us a sample translation she'd done previously and walked us through the formatting standards, how to handle formation diagrams, how to structure the layout, margin rules, the works. All right. Work until 5 p.m. Come find me if you have questions. Points on my mind, I pulled out my materials and got to work. At first, 1 page per incense stick. But as I got into a rhythm, I'd glance at the original and immediately know how to lay out the translation. Speed increased. My photographic memory was clutch. Every page I translated got permanently saved in my brain. Knowledge and points. Double reward. But there was one bottleneck killing my efficiency. My handwriting speed. My brain processed the translation instantly, but my tiny hand with its tiny brush could only write so fast. It was like having a supercomputer connected to a dial-up printer. Then a thought hit me. Wind spiritual energy was supposed to enhance speed. Could I channel it into my wrist? I pulled a thread of wind chi from my dantian and carefully guided it toward my hand. So the spring water body purification from earlier? Turns out it didn't just make me stronger, it left my meridians squeaky clean. 0 blockages. 0 impurities. Like freshly installed plumbing. This meant channeling wind chi to my wrist was effortless. The energy flowed right there, without any resistance. Only problem, I used too much. My brush pen exploded. I stared at the scattered remains of my writing instrument. quietly cleaned up the evidence.
Take 2.
Thinner strand of chi this time. Slower. Gentler. Ease it into the wrist. 3 ruined pages and 2 more dead brushes later, I finally got it working. A delicate thread of wind energy wrapped around my wrist and pen, and suddenly, magic happened. Not only was I writing faster, but the brush was moving with my thoughts. Brain thinks word, hand writes word, simultaneously. Like my pen had a direct Wi-Fi connection to my brain. Error rate, near 0. At first I had to readjust every few characters. But within minutes, the control became second nature. One thought, and the chi slid exactly where it needed to go. Smooth, obedient, instant. Writing speed was no longer the bottleneck. By the end, I was cranking out 10 pages per incense stick. And even with the time I'd lost experimenting with exploding pens, I finished all 100 pages in under 2 hours. Before class ended, I sorted everything by category, formations, pills, talismans, artifacts, and stored them neatly in my token. I do a final proofread at home, then submit with the rest of the group, so we could compare notes and learn from each other. Auntie Yang wrapped up and announced, "Tomorrow begins phase 2. 1 month. Mornings with me, spiritual energy application. Afternoons with Uncle Lou, physical conditioning continues." Exam on the last day. Back in my courtyard after dinner, I proofread every single translation. All clean, all formatted, all flawless. Packed them back into the token. In the cultivation room, I took stock. My dantian was stuffed with compressed wind chi, nearly at the absolute limit. One more night, and I could break through to chi refining layer 1. But first, I had unfinished business. That mysterious book from my pocket dimension. The one I couldn't read before. Now that I'd mastered ancient script, it was finally time to crack it open. I pulled it out with my spiritual sense. Records of primordial stars, God-grade upper-tier cultivation method. My heart sank to my shoes. A cultivator can only practice one cultivation method in their lifetime. I already had the records of Xiaoyao wind. This could be the greatest method in history, and it would be completely useless to wait. Keep reading, Ningyun. Keep reading. Records of primordial stars. Exclusive method for those with the innate stellar body. Those without this constitution will see only blank pages. I could see the text.
So I had.
An innate stellar body? The original novel never mentioned this. Upon cultivation, the dantian will double in size to accommodate stellar power. This method runs automatically within the body, absorbing stellar energy. Higher cultivation equals faster automatic absorption. Okay, interesting, but when cultivating one's primary method, records of primordial stars will automatically run alongside it, complementing and enhancing both methods. Absorbs spiritual energy and stellar power simultaneously. IT could run alongside my main method. Includes stellar power techniques, unlocked progressively with cultivation level. I was practically vibrating. This wasn't a replacement, it was an add-on. A God-grade upper-tier supplementary engine that would turbocharge my already God-grade primary method. And it came with free bonus techniques. I checked the compendium for innate stellar body. The entry was hilariously short. Can harness the power of stars. Appears perhaps once in 10,000 years. Extremely rare. Then a note. This constitution is so rare that no known stellar techniques exist in the world. Practitioners may use sun spirit body or moon essence body techniques as substitutes, since sunlight and moonlight are subcategories of stellar power. Good thing my method came with its own techniques.
Covered. No hesitation.
I committed. The book dissolved into light and sank into my forehead. Following the instructions, I closed my eyes and meditated. Immediately, countless points of starlight pierced through the ceiling and rained down around me. As the method activated, the starlight entered my body and slipped into my dantian, filling every gap between the compressed wind chi. The stellar power coated my entire dantian, then began to rotate, gently expanding it. I'd braced for pain. Expanding an organ sounds like it should hurt, but instead it felt cool and pleasant, like mint for my soul. My dantian doubled in size. Then the stellar power shifted gears and started spinning with my wind chi. The two energies spiraled together into a sphere that looked like a yin-yang symbol, wind on one side, stars on the other. Perfectly interlocked. Zero conflict. The only issue: my stellar power was way less dense than my wind chi, since I'd been cultivating wind for a week already. New plan: build up stellar power to match my wind chi, compress both to the absolute limit, then break through to chi refining layer 1. Maximum foundation.
No shortcuts.
I ran the stellar cultivation through the same meridian circuit. Starlight poured in from 52 acupoints, cycling through and depositing into my dantian. Over and over. Thanks to a week of wind cultivation already widening and strengthening my meridians, the stellar energy had a highway to travel on. By morning, my stellar power was already at half the density of my wind chi. Not enough time to finish tonight. Tomorrow, I'd get the stellar side caught up, then try running both methods together to see how this complementary thing actually worked. My alarm chimed.
6 Uhr morgens.
New classes in 90 minutes. Spiritual energy application. My eyes sparkled. 2 God-grade cultivation methods. A secret special constitution. A pocket dimension with infinite spring water. A brain full of ancient knowledge. And now I was about to learn how to actually use my powers. This was getting good. I pushed open my courtyard gate and stopped. The Lingxin peach trees were glowing in the morning light, pink blossoms swaying against drifting clouds. The lake sparkled. A gentle breeze carried the scent of flowers right to me. I'd been living here for over a week and never once stopped to just look at it. I crouched by the lake and scooped up a handful of cool water. Sunlight filtered through the water and pooled in my palm. The wind went still. I closed my eyes, and something shifted. My consciousness floated out of the water, drifted through the peach tree branches, caught a breeze, and rode it all the way up into the clouds. Up there, behind the mist, I caught a sliver of purple energy from the rising sun. And beyond that, far beyond what my spiritual sense should have been able to reach, the sky opened. Starlight cascaded down like a tilted galaxy. In broad daylight, invisible to anyone else, but crystal clear to me. Each strand of starlight was thin as spider silk, subtle, understated, but carrying the weight of something ancient and impossibly powerful. I reached for it with my mind, and the entire field of starlight spiraled down toward me, threading into my body as the wind carried my consciousness gently back to the girl crouching by the lake. The water drained from my hands. I opened my eyes and found myself nose to beak with a duck. I stumbled backward. It was a duck. A fat duck.
Almost as tall as me.
Just standing there, staring at me. It flapped its wings and went, quack. Not bad, kid. You just had an epiphany. Decent talent. I did a quick internal scan. My stellar power had caught up to my wind chi and density. Both energies were now running the small heavenly cycle together, automatically, all the time. My body was cultivating itself 24/7 on autopilot. The auto cycle was slower than sitting meditation, but still passive cultivation. While eating, walking, sleeping. Free gains. The other big change. My spiritual sense had gotten way stronger. If my soul used to be a transparent ghost, it was now a solid brick. A person-shaped, flexible brick, but definitely a brick. And there was a layer of clear light coating it that looked familiar.
Oh.
That was the dewdrop from the top of the stairway. The reward that sank into my forehead and vanished. It had been chilling inside my soul this whole time. I poked it with my spiritual sense. Still no idea what it does. Filed under mystery power-up, investigate later. But wait, what just happened to me? I was just crouching by a lake, playing with water, enjoying the breeze, looking at pretty trees. And that triggered some kind of cosmic revelation? In the original novel, the heroine, the supposed chosen one with plot armor thicker than a dictionary, never had a single epiphany. Not once. And I got one from vibes? The ducks seemed to sense my confusion. Quack quack, judging by that dumb look on your face, you don't know what an epiphany is, do you? I composed myself. Not entirely, senior. Could you explain? The duck was delighted. It puffed up, waggled its head, and started pacing back and forth like a university professor giving a lecture. Full swagger. Peak duck energy. Quack, 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 since you're so polite, this great master, this senior, shall enlighten you. Epiphanies can't be forced. Only those with exceptional comprehension can experience one. Sounds fancy, but it's really just resonating with heaven and earth. The most obvious effect is a boost to cultivation and spiritual sense. But for real geniuses, that's nothing. The true value of an epiphany is raising your potential, both your soul's potential and your body's potential. Your ceiling just got higher, kid. I was half understanding, half confused. Something about it felt right, but also like there was a deeper layer I couldn't quite see through. Resonating with heaven and earth, I murmured. What do you think cultivation is? It's communicating with heaven and earth. The duck waddled into the lake, wiggled its butt, and started paddling away. From across the water, its final words drifted back. Hey kid, if you don't get to the cafeteria soon, you'll be late for class. I looked at the sun's position. Oh no. I sprinted to the cafeteria, inhaled breakfast, and slid into my seat at the classroom literally 1 second before Annie Young walked in. Close call. And I hadn't gotten to study the compendium this morning either. Epiphanies are wonderful, but they are terrible for your schedule. Phase 2, Day 1. Spiritual Energy Application. Auntie Young handed each of us a box. I opened it. Sewing needles. Regular, mortal, grandma-grade embroidery needles. An entire box of them. This class is about training your control over spiritual energy. Today's exercise, I call it threading the needle. She held up a needle. Extract the thinnest possible thread of spiritual energy and pass it through the needle's eye without breaking the needle. Like this. A hair-thin strand of chi extended from her fingertip, slipped through the eye of the needle, and dangled the needle in midair like a tiny chandelier. Once you can do the first needle, keep it floating and thread a second one. Then a third. And so on. She demonstrated, threading needle after needle until dozens of them hung from individual chi threads like the world's most dangerous wind chime. You can also try threading all the needles on a single strand. She did this too, stringing them together like keys on a keychain, or come up with your own approach. Spiritual energy is very obedient. It'll do whatever you tell it to. One critical tip: always attach a wisp of spiritual sense to your chi when it leaves your body. Without it, you can't control the energy once it's outside you. Start with one needle. Go. I didn't jump straight in. Instead, I thought back to yesterday's translation session, channeling wind chi to my wrist. Wind energy's defining trait was speed. Great for running and fighting. Terrible for delicate precision work. Fast chi through a tiny needle eye was a recipe for destroyed needles. I practiced inside my body first. Pull the thinnest possible thread from my dantian. Guide it to my fingertip at a controlled, even speed. Not fast. Not jerky.
Smooth.
I did this several times until I was confident in my dosing and pacing. Okay. Moment of truth. I guided the chi out of my fingertip, and it instantly turned into a tiny breeze and vanished into thin air.
Right.
Wind chi. It literally becomes wind when it leaves my body.
Cool.
Very cool. Again. After several attempts of my wind chi, just poof and ji, into a breeze the second it left my fingertip, I had an idea. What if I gave the chi a target? I held a needle in my left hand and pointed my right finger at it from a distance. Instead of just pushing chi out into the void, I used my spiritual sense to grab the chi thread and pull it toward the needle. It worked. Having something to aim at kept the energy from dispersing. I touched the needle from across the gap. Then I started stretching the distance.
In.
Until I could reliably send a controlled thread of wind chi across an entire arm's length. Then I practiced controlling its speed. Then its path. By the time Annie Young called class, I could freely control direction and speed within arm's reach. Not quite ready for actual needle threading yet, but the foundation was solid. I walked over to Wen Xian's desk to grab her for lunch, and what on earth happened here? Her desk looked like a barbecue aftermath. A massive pile of gray ash where needles used to be. Wen Xian, did you have a cookout? What is all this ash? Allow me to demonstrate. She pulled out the very last needle from her box, extended a tiny flame of fire chi from her fingertip, and the needle instantly incinerated into dust. She shrugged at me. That's been my entire morning. I burst out laughing. But she looked genuinely distressed, so I thought about it. Every element has its own nature, right? My wind chi is super fast, so I had to learn speed control first. Fire chi burns things. So maybe you need to learn temperature control? When Xian rubbed her fingers together thoughtfully.
Huh.
That actually makes sense. I'll try next class. I pulled out my handkerchief and wiped a smear of black ash off her cheek, then cleaned up her desk. Come on, let's eat. I'm starving. When Xian stared at my now blackened handkerchief, her ear tips went pink. She clutched the extra box of needles Auntie Yang had given her because apparently the teacher anticipated the cremation situation, and after a long pause managed a very quiet, okay. With both cultivation methods now auto-cycling inside my body, I didn't need naps anymore. Passive cultivation kept my energy topped up 24/7. So I spent the entire lunch break grinding the compendium. 2,000 spiritual plants memorized and counting. The mountain was slowly shrinking. When the wind chime alarm rang, I headed west of Ryu Pavilion to find a cliff. A sheer, vertical, terrifyingly tall cliff. I craned my neck upward from the base. 1,000 zhong high. That's roughly 3 kilometers of vertical rock face. This month's physical training. Cliff climbing. Uncle Lu pointed to a scraggly tree growing sideways out of the rock face at roughly the halfway point. I've set a formation there. When you reach it, you'll be teleported back to the bottom. Bottom to tree and back counts as 1 round trip. Today's assignment. 5 round trips. 5 times up 500 zhong of vertical cliff. On tiny child arms. I had one quiet concern. If I fell from halfway up, Uncle Lu would catch me, right? Right? He demonstrated climbing technique and how to distribute force, then taught us something new, channeling chi to our limbs. Send 4 threads of spiritual energy to your arms and legs. Let the chi assist your muscles. This was the real game. Climbing a cliff with just physical strength at age 6?
Impossible.
But chi-assisted climbing? Challenging, but doable. Uncle Lu finished his demo and set us loose. I didn't start immediately. See, I hadn't broken through to chi refining layer 1 yet. Even with compressed chi, I wasn't sure I had enough fuel for 5 full round trips. I needed to budget. How much chi per pull? What ratio between arms and legs? How to maximize efficiency. I also decided. No stellar power. No mysterious force. Just pure wind chi and muscle. These were my trump cards, and I wasn't revealing them during training. Plus, I genuinely wanted to build my body and chi control the hard way. If I mastered wind chi first, switching to the other energies later would be easy. Quick math, 90 minutes for 5 round trips meant 18 minutes per trip. But trips 1 and 5 would be slower, learning curve and exhaustion, so the middle 3 needed to be under 15 minutes each. I started climbing, calibrating as I went. Enough chi to feel my muscles working without burning out. Then I experimented with wind chi's speed properties. Could I make my hands and feet faster on the rock face? By the time I reached the tree for the first time, everyone else was already on their second trip. I was dead last. But I wasn't worried. I'd figured it out. I glanced at Jun Luo climbing near me, then flash, got teleported back to the bottom. 1 full round trip behind him. Mu Chenze was already 3/4 up his second climb. Jiang Yao was at the halfway point, when Xian had covered a third. I wrapped a layer of chi around my stinging palms and launched into round 2. Here's where things got fun. Tiny cyclones of wind chi spun under my palms and feet. Each grab, each push had a little turbo boost. I looked like I was struggling, every muscle visibly straining, but my speed was flying. I blew past when Xian caught up to Jiang Yao. We got teleported back together. Jiang Yao stared at me with his mouth open. I didn't have time for explanations. I was in the zone. Chi flowing perfectly, body pushing hard, mind completely absorbed in the rhythm of climb grab push climb. Third ascent. Arms getting shaky now, but that just meant the training was working. Near the top, I caught Mu Chenze. As I passed him, A gust of wind from my movement ruffled his hair.
He froze mid-climb.
I could practically hear his brain short-circuiting. She hasn't even broken through to Qi refining layer 1. She shouldn't have that much wind Qi. But she's using it like she's got an ocean of the stuff. And she's fast. And she's light. Sorry, buddy. Some things just can't be explained by normal cultivation logic. Mu Chenza gritted his teeth and climbed faster after I passed him. Competitive boy. I respect that. But I was already back at the bottom, starting round 4. And here's the thing, passing him taught me something. I'd noticed one of his techniques was way more energy efficient than mine. Some specific way he shifted his grip that saved a ton of arm strength. I tried it on the next stretch, and yep, way easier. Lesson learned, don't just grind with your head down. Watch smart people and steal their homework. Maybe later I could convince my teammates to share cultivation tips. Iron sharpens iron and all that. I shook out my jelly arms. I looked fast, but my body was screaming. Still, this was body conditioning. The whole point was pushing my limits. I kept my Qi assistance at helpful but not carrying me levels. After round 4, Jun Luo was still half a climb ahead of me. And I was shaking. Every limb trembling. Completely spent. I dragged myself through round 5 on pure stubbornness and collapsed against the tree trunk at the top.
Dead.
I am dead. This is my grave now. Bury me here. But you know what? Thinking about being a squishy mage who dies the second anything gets close. Yeah, physical training was worth every agonizing second. Here's the surprise though. My spiritual energy was not empty. I'd budgeted so carefully that after 5 round trips, I still had about a third of my Qi left. And during my rest, it was already refilling thanks to the auto-cultivation. This was better than expected. Minimum Qi expenditure, maximum training effect. In a real fight, this would mean optimal energy management, never running dry, always having reserves. And honestly, with both cultivation methods cycling automatically, my Qi was regenerating constantly. In normal circumstances, I'd basically never run out. Even if I did run out, the auto cycle would refill me without needing to sit and meditate. And if things got really desperate, I had trump cards. Though my gut told me the mysterious force from the records of Xiaoyao wind should never be revealed casually. If I used it,
No witnesses. No survivors.
and ideally no evidence either. Note to self, investigate body disposal techniques at some point. As for stellar power, I'd figure that out once I learned its combat techniques. I also noticed something cool about the auto-cultivation. When my wind Qi and stellar power were balanced, the system absorbed equal amounts of both. But after I'd burned through wind Qi during climbing, the balance shifted. It started absorbing way more wind Qi, and barely any stellar power. The bigger the deficit, the bigger the compensation. So, if I ever completely emptied my wind Qi in a fight, the system would basically go into emergency wind Qi only absorption mode. Fastest possible recovery for whatever I needed most. The records of primordial stars was clutch. Even just the auto-cycling feature was absurdly reliable. I glanced over at Uncle Lu standing guard and Jun Luo, already meditating to recover. I sat down cross-legged and actively ran the records of Xiaoyao wind at full speed. Active cultivation was way faster than passive. Wind Qi poured in through all 52 acupoints, cycling through, compressing back to maximum density. Once my wind Qi was topped up, the stellar power auto-balanced itself to match. I sent gentle threads of Qi through my aching limbs to ease the soreness. Nothing fancy, human meridians are complicated, and I was not about to experiment with internal energy healing without knowing what I was doing. By the time I opened my eyes, the other 3 had also finished their climbs and were meditating nearby, protected by a Qi barrier Uncle Lu had set up around them. He was standing guard, watching over everyone. Our teachers were genuinely wonderful people. I chewed on the word, guide. Yinluren. Auntie Yang and Uncle Lu had just entered the inner sect themselves. They'd barely started their own journey as real cultivators. But they turned around and came back to lead us baby disciples step by step into this world. And it wasn't just them. Every batch of newly promoted disciples had to do this. Pass the inner sect exam? You guide the new outer disciples. Don't pass? You guide the new miscellaneous disciples. It was mandatory, a tradition spanning 110,000 years. Their teachers did it. Their teachers' teachers did it. All the way back to the founders. And someday, after our promotion exam, we'd do it too. At Xiaoyao, guide wasn't just a job title. It was a responsibility, a legacy, a chain of kindness stretching back over 100,000 years. I propped my chin on my hands and let that sink in. This is what Xiaoyao is. But I wasn't naive enough to think any organization with people in it was perfect. Where there are humans, there's politics, jealousy, hidden agendas. I'd stay sharp, keep my head down where needed, show my strengths where it mattered, play the game smart. I snapped out of my philosophical moment and glanced to my left. Jun Luo had also stopped meditating and was reading a jade slip. I squinted. That was the compendium of heavenly materials. I knew it. Behind that ice prince exterior, he was grinding just as hard as me. Secret nerd. Closet tryhard. We were all competing in the shadows. I closed my eyes and launched into my own mental review of everything I'd memorized so far. And you know what? Every review session was more productive than the last. The more I accumulated, the more connections I found. Some plants countered each other. Some looked similar but had completely different applications. Some could substitute for others in specific combinations. I started building a classification system in my head, sorting by environment, element, function, target area. After organizing everything this way, my brain basically became a searchable database. Need a plant? Query by attribute. Going to a specific region? Filter by habitat, and instantly know what to look for. A cultivator's brain was honestly better than a computer. No lag, no crashes, and 0 monthly subscription fees. The spiritual energy around us rippled. Uncle Lu was dropping the protective barrier. Everyone had recovered. He looked at us. 5 tiny, determined faces staring back. Starting today, the real physical conditioning begins. Are you ready? That wasn't the real training? Uncle Lu swiped his storage ring, and a mountain of herb packets appeared in front of each of us. Phase 1 of body conditioning, skin tempering. 30 packets. Same routine as before, 1 per bath. Once you've used all 30, your skin will reach maximum toughness for your cultivation level. Faster wound healing, better durability. It scales up as you get stronger. After climbing that cliff, I demolished an entire tray of food at the cafeteria and was still hungry. My appetite had grown. Again. No wonder the food was free. With Xiaoyao's mandatory body conditioning program turning us into bottomless pits, paying for our own meals would bankrupt us before we hit Qi refining layer 2. When Xian finished her last bite of spirit beast meat and flexed her tiny arm. Hey, do you guys think we'll get muscles if we keep training like this? Zhang Yao nodded enthusiastically. Definitely. I once saw a body cultivator fight. He was holding a meteor hammer, muscles bulging everywhere, and he sent a spellcaster flying with one swing. So cool, when Xian's eyes lit up like stars. That's amazing. If anyone annoys me, I'll just roll up my sleeves and flex. And if they really tick me off, one punch, and they're airborne. I'm sorry, what? How big would those muscles have to be? And what about mobility? What if you can't run because you're built like a refrigerator? I choked on my lotus root soup so hard it nearly came out my nose. Cough, cough, hack. A pale blue handkerchief appeared from across the table.
Yunlu.
Silently offering tissue support. I grabbed it with trembling hands and wiped my mouth. When Xian patted my back. Did you choke? There's no class after this. No need to eat so fast. Muchinza smirked. I don't think speed was the issue. Once I could breathe again, I turned to Xian carefully.
So,
you want to be covered in huge muscles. She looked confused. What's wrong with that? If I'm strong, I can protect myself. Then she snuck a tiny glance at me and mumbled, and protect my good friends too. I missed the glance entirely. But the sentiment was sweet. The sex body conditioning herbs are specifically formulated for male and female bodies separately, I explained. So no matter how hard we train, we won't end up looking like that body cultivator, but the strength will still be there. You might not be able to intimidate people with your arms, but punching them across a room should still be doable when Xian deflated slightly. Did I guess that works? That night. Cultivation room. I sat on my cushion. After a full day of auto-cultivation, both my wind qi and stellar power were compressed to the absolute limit. One push and I'd break through. I activated the records of Xiaoya wind. Both energies entered the small heavenly cycle together. Watching with my spiritual sense, I noticed something new. The stellar power was also fusing into my meridians and acupoints as it passed through, just like my wind qi did. Tiny silver threads now hid inside every part of my ren and du meridians, radiating a vast, mysterious aura. With both energies tempering my channels, my meridians were wider and tougher than wind qi alone could achieve. They could handle more energy at faster speeds. My dantian was twice its original size thanks stellar power expansion, and after all that compression training, its walls were denser than my meridians. The silver threads inside the dantian walls were brighter, thicker. One full cycle complete. Breakthrough was right there. I locked in. Heart rate steady. Chanted the method. Both energies accelerated. 52 acupoints flooding with power, bloop. Like a single water drop falling into a still pond. My dantian doubled again. Qi refining layer 1 achieved. But I didn't stop. 12 more full cycles to stabilize. Lock it in. Make it solid.
Noticing.
The layer 2 instructions appeared. First, open the lung meridian, one of the 12 major channels. Except, mine was already open. The spring water body purification had cleaned out all my meridians. And between daily spiritual food and herb baths followed by spring water, no new blockages had formed. So while other cultivators would spend days or weeks clearing that meridian, I could just skip straight to accumulating qi again. Same small heavenly cycle. Same compression strategy. But I wasn't sloppy about it. The lung meridian hadn't been tempered like my run and du channels had. So I ran energy through it separately, all 11 acupoints, strengthening each one, until it matched the other 2 meridians in durability. Then I'd compress to the limit again, and break through to layer 2. Meanwhile, the auto-cultivation kept chugging along on the run and du side. And post-breakthrough, the auto-cycling speed had increased by 1/12. Every breakthrough made the passive engine faster. Compound interest for cultivation. 6 more days blurred past. Classes by day, cultivation by night. Jun Luo and I turned in our translation missions together, 200 points each. Easy money. Unfortunately, Auntie Yang capped us at 1 mission per month, so we wouldn't neglect our actual studies. Fair, but painful. As for needle threading practice, I could now thread half a box of needles into any shape I wanted with perfect qi control. The other half of the box got shredded by my wind qi during practice. Casualties of war. Rest in peace, tiny needles. My spiritual sense had grown enormously, though. The difference between day 1 and now was like comparing a flashlight to a spotlight. Day 8. Spiritual Energy Application Exam. I channeled my qi and sent 10 separate threads out of my index finger simultaneously. Each thread snaked into the needle box independently, weaving through the pile, threading needle after needle. Within moments, all 10 threads had their needles. I curled each thread into a loop and stacked them neatly on my desk. 10 perfect needle rings, all created at once. What I didn't notice was Annie Yang staring at me from the moment those 10 threads left my finger. Apparently, simultaneously controlling 10 independent qi threads was not normal for someone who'd been cultivating for 2 weeks. I placed my 10 needle rings on the desk, and Annie Yang nodded approvingly. Well done, Ningyun. You've exceeded the target for threading the needle. My teammates glanced over. Nobody was surprised. They'd watched me progress in real time. But I could practically hear the collective internal thought. Should I do extra practice tonight? The competitive energy in this group was beautiful.
Auntie Yang addressed everyone.
You're all progressing well. 2 more days should get most of you to the standard. After that, we're moving to the outdoor plaza for new training. If you're not quite there in 2 days, no stress. Just practice on your own before the phase exam. I mentally reviewed everyone's progress. Jun Luo was basically at my level. He'd hit the standard by end of class today, easy. Wen Xian had a rough start, RIP, box of incinerated needles, but after I shared my tip about controlling her element's core property first, she picked it up fast. Mu Chenza was right there with her. Both would pass within 2 days.
Zhang Yao, though.
His gold qi had this insanely sharp edge to it. His energy would slice needles in half from a distance. Like he'd try to thread a needle, and the qi would just bisect it before getting anywhere near the eye. We'd all tried sharing our tips with him, but nothing worked. His energy was just too aggressive. Auntie Yang had to take him to Chuandao Peak to consult an elder, who figured out it was a special body constitution thing. What constitution exactly? Nobody asked. Prying into someone's special physique was rude, like asking someone their salary at a dinner party. But privately, based on what I'd read in the compendium when looking up my own innate stellar body, his qi behavior matched the description of the sharp gold body pretty closely. After Auntie Yang's announcement, I noticed Zhang Yao looking worried.
He leaned over.
Hey, there's still 20 days left. Plenty of time. You can control that sharpness now. Just use the methods we talked about and you'll be fine. Mu Chenza popped up from behind like a helpful gopher.
Yeah.
And think about it long term. Your qi is basically a blade. In actual combat, you'd be devastating. One technique, and you could split a demon beast clean in 2. How cool is that? When Xian and Jun Luo nodded encouragingly. Zhang Yao perked up. Good squad energy. Then Auntie Yang pulled me and Jun Luo aside. Ningyun, threading the needle has nothing left to teach you. Jun Luo, same for you after the session. She handed us each a small jade chip. I'm teaching you two a little spell to play with for the next 2 days. No need to come to the classroom, just show up at the plaza in 2 days for the new content. I scanned the chip. Dust removal technique. Yes. The jade chip has full instructions for reference, but let me demonstrate first. She formed a hand seal, channeled qi, and sent it rippling across the floor like a wave. Everywhere it touched, dirt and grime simply vanished. The floor looked brand new. She walked us through the theory, the chant, and the finger seals. Then she shooed Jun Luo back to his needles. I could have left too, but I stayed in the classroom, still learning the chant and seals, better to practice near the teacher in case I had questions. And boy, did I have a question. See, the spell worked by coating a target with qi and then annihilating it. That's the word they used. Annihilate. As in, the thing ceases to exist. So naturally, my first thought was, if I cast this on someone's head during a fight, would their head just stop existing? When I asked this out loud, Jun Luo and Auntie Yang both froze. Jun Luo hadn't considered weaponizing the cleaning spell, but now he was holding his jade chip with a very thoughtful expression, clearly running the combat math. Auntie Yang was surprised for a different reason. She was impressed that I'd thought this deeply about a spell on my first encounter with it. Apparently, most people just learn to use it as is, without questioning the underlying mechanics. Her generation only thought about this stuff after mastering it. She explained, the annihilation force was actually a fragment of a fundamental law of the universe. Way above our pay grade. The genius ancestor who created dust removal had caught just a tiny glimpse of this law before ascending to the immortal realm, and barely managed to harness the tiniest sliver of it through specific chants and seals. That sliver? Only strong enough to erase small, non-living things. Apparently, erasing something alive versus something dead were completely different ballgames, not even comparable. The ancestor eventually just scaled it down into a practical cleaning spell and called it a day. Plenty of people had tried to unlock its full combat potential over the millennia. Nobody succeeded. The research was abandoned. I spent the rest of class drilling the chant and hand seals until they were muscle memory. Actual qi-powered practice could wait. I didn't want to accidentally clean a layer off the desk. Back at Tingfeng, I grabbed a flat stone slab from the riverbank, hauled it into my courtyard, and sprinkled dirt on it. Training target ready. I reviewed the chant and seals one more time, found my rhythm, then channeled the tiniest bit of qi and cast my first dust removal technique. The last seal completed. Qi obediently coated the dirt. And then poof, gone. every speck annihilated. I leaned in close. The stone was spotless, like it had been pressure washed and blow-dried. Not a single new scratch on the surface either.
Wait.
It worked on my first try, just like that. I sprinkled more dirt, tried again, and again. Nailed it every time. All those weeks of chi control training had apparently made spellcasting way easier than expected. Then I slowly turned around and looked at my living quarters. The rooms I'd inhabited for over 10 days without cleaning once. I flexed my fingers. They were itching. Time to give this place the deep clean of its life. I nailed dust removal in one morning and deep cleaned my entire courtyard in the process. 2 birds, 1 spell. When Xian came by and saw my sparkling rooms, her eyes went wide like I'd shown her a new planet. She immediately grabbed my arm and dragged me to her place.
Dumini.
Please. Listen, I just learned my first ever spell. I was so excited I wanted to cast dust removal on every tree, rock, and sidewalk I passed. So when my friend asked, I practically sprinted over there and blasted her whole courtyard clean. It was therapeutic. At dinner, when Xian mentioned my cleaning services, and Jiang Yao perked up. Hey Ningyun, could you maybe, flick? Jun Luo forehead flicked him before he could finish. You're asking a girl to clean your room? Really? Jiang Yao clutched his forehead. I snorted. Mu Chenza piled on. She's also younger than you. This is bullying. Okay, I'm sorry. Jiang Yao rubbed his head, ears turning red. I felt bad for him, so I handed over my jade chip. Here, this has the full tutorial. Learn it yourself. His eyes lit up, but then, wait, what about you? Already memorized it. He took the chip with a goofy grin. Ningyun is the best. Mu Chenza face-bombed. When Xian rolled her eyes. I already learned it at lunch today. I'm definitely mastering it before you. Jun Luo silently handed his chip to Mu Chenza. If you have questions, ask me. Wait, you learned it too?
Already. Yun Lu shrugged.
Just barely. Still rough. Next morning, nothing to do. I parked myself with the compendium all morning. Grinding never stops. At afternoon training, Uncle Lu dropped a bomb. Today was the last day climbing to the halfway point. Starting tomorrow, the teleportation array was moving to the peak. Full cliff. 1,000 zhang. Every single
time.
I glanced at Jun Luo beside me and sighed internally. 10 days of cliff climbing, and I had never beaten him. Not once. And then Mu Chenza had suddenly leapfrogged me too, pushing me back to third. I rubbed my sore arms suspiciously. These two were definitely doing secret extra practice sessions. Every single time I'd nearly catch up by end of class, they'd show up the next day with a massive lead again. Cheaters. Grind lords. Respect. But honestly, I wasn't too bothered. I was deliberately limiting my wind chi usage to train my physical body and chi control. If I went full throttle with my wind speed advantage and chi manipulation skills, neither of them could touch me. I knew that. But that wasn't the point of training. The skin tempering herbs were showing real results though. Early on, every climbing session left my fingers and exposed skin scraped raw by the rough rock. Now, not a single scratch, no matter how hard I climbed. I got curious about exactly how tough my skin was now, so back in my courtyard, I went to the kitchen, grabbed a cleaver, rolled up my sleeve, and gave my arm a little test slash. The knife sliced me open instantly. Blood everywhere. I panicked. That was not the result I expected. It actually hurt. Way worse than any climbing scrape. That knife was definitely not a normal knife. It was made for cutting spirit beast meat. Of course, it was sharper than regular steel. What was I thinking? I was washing the wound, mentally preparing for the humiliation of asking Uncle Lu for medicine, when I looked down and the cut was already scabbing over, right before my eyes. By the next morning, completely healed. Smooth skin, 0 scarring. Okay, so the skin tempering worked. The healing was incredible. I still had 20 more baths to go. Imagine the results after all 30. Should I try the knife test again after I finish? Uncle Lu's voice broke my thoughts. Class dismissed. Tomorrow's difficulty increases significantly. Rest well. Nobody responded. We'd done 15 round trips that afternoon. Vocal cords were a luxury none of us could afford. 2 days later.
Ruiyu pebiljen plaza.
New class. Auntie Yang handed each of us a basketball-sized stone sphere and placed extras on the ground beside her. Starting today, we're training the offensive properties of spiritual energy. She opened her palm. A sword made entirely of water chi materialized, hovering above her hand. Everyone knows that using spells with spiritual energy creates powerful attacks. But most people overlook the power of pure spiritual energy itself. She flicked her wrist. The water sword shot forward like an arrow and punched clean through one of the stone spheres. Spiritual energy alone can be incredibly destructive. And by shaping it into different weapon forms, you can create different effects. She formed a water hammer, dropped it on a stone sphere, and it exploded into dust. Beyond simple destruction, you can control exactly where you strike. You can even use spiritual energy to carve. She condensed a tiny water chisel and sculpted a stone sphere into a bunny. A perfect little rabbit, carved with chi. 5 pairs of eyes, sparkling with awe. Your goal for these 10 days: condense your spiritual energy into 3 different weapon shapes and carve a stone sphere into any animal of your choice. Master this, and every spell you learn in the future will be easier to cast and more powerful. She demonstrated the condensation process slowly with her water sword, then broke it down step by step. Theory, technique, common mistakes, tips, and tricks. Start with the weapon you know best. Familiarity dramatically increases your success rate. She set us loose to practice. I hugged my stone sphere and thought about it. What weapon did I know best? Across both lives, what had I used more than anything else? A kitchen knife. My most used weapon was a cleaver. You know what? Fine. A cleaver it is. Don't judge me. In the right hands, anything is deadly. Ask that spirit beast meat knife that sliced my arm open yesterday. I set down the sphere, mentally rehearsed Auntie Yang's steps a few times, held out my right hand, and started channeling chi. Wind cleaver, loading. Thanks to all that needle threading practice, condensing chi into a shape was actually pretty easy. Within minutes, I had a cleaver floating in my palm. A beautiful, cyan-colored wind chi cleaver. An exact replica of the one in my kitchen. You know, the one that sliced my arm open. We had history, that knife and I. Whoa, Ningyun. You did it already. Muchinza wandered over, mid-brainstorm on his own weapon. He squinted at my creation. What I asked that? It looks weirdly familiar. When Xian popped up behind him. That's a kitchen knife. Ningyun, are you hungry? I covered my face. Maybe. They left to go back to their own practice. Thanks for the support, guys. I tried swinging the cleaver through the air, and poof, it dissolved into a breeze the second my hand moved.
Gone.
Wind chi doing wind things. Take 2. More chi this time. Made it denser. Swung it a few times.
Poof. Dissolved again.
I remembered Auntie Yang's lesson. Chi weapons aren't static. The energy flows through them in patterns, and the closer those patterns match the weapon's actual structure, the more solid and powerful the weapon becomes. I condensed another cleaver and watched the chi flow with my spiritual sense. The energy went from handle to spine, then turned into a chaotic blob in the blade area. It looked like a knife, but internally it was a mess. One swing, and it fell apart. I squatted on the ground and sighed. New approach. Instead of starting from the handle, I began from the blade edge. Chi flowed along the cutting edge, spread across the flat of the blade, then extended down into the handle. Then I looped it back. Handle, spine, blade, spine, cutting edge, repeat. A complete circuit. This time the energy flow was much cleaner. I swung it several times. It held together. Progress. I pulled out a stone sphere, wound up, and chopped. Nothing happened. The stone was completely fine. My cleaver just bounced off it pathetically. Maybe I needed to throw it like Anyang did? I set the sphere on the ground, sent the cleaver flying at it, and cleaver shattered. Stone untouched. Lunch time, Ningyun. Weren't you hungry? Oh. Class was over already. I pocketed the stone and linked arms with Wen Xian. My theory. I didn't understand the cleaver well enough. Tomorrow, I'd bring the actual kitchen knife to class and study it while practicing. 2 more days passed. Still no real breakthrough with the cleaver. After my evening herb bath, I sat in the courtyard, cradling my kitchen knife, staring at it like it owed me money. Knock, knock, knock. Who visits at this hour?
Wen Xian?
I opened the gate and found myself face to face with a fat duck. The fat duck. The one for my epiphany morning. Chest puffed out, nearly as tall as me, radiating pure chaotic energy. Quack, quack, quack. Hey kid, can you catch fish? No, I said. But if you're hungry, I can grab something from the cafeteria. Where's the fun in that? The duck shook its head dramatically. Fish need to be caught fresh. It pointed a wing tip at the pink peach tree. You know what that is, right? Lingxin peach tree. Why? The duck waddled up close and went full conspiracy theory mode. Listen up, kid. This lake in front of your place? It's called Lingxin Lake. There's a fish in there called the Lingxin fish. Because it's been soaking in the peach tree's spiritual energy for ages, it's not only delicious, it also calms and focuses the mind. It slurped visibly. When you had your little epiphany, yours truly stood guard and used up a lot of energy protecting you. As repayment, catching me a few fish seems pretty fair, right? I looked at this duck, so fat its neck had basically disappeared into its body, and smiled helplessly. Fine. I walked to the lake and stared at the water. No idea how deep it was. Maybe I could snap off a branch and make a fishing rod. Kid, why are you staring at that tree? The duck tilted its head at me. Aren't you literally practicing chi weapons right now? Just make a trident. I'll tell you what the fish look like. You scan with your spiritual sense and stab. Senior, you want to know what I was doing with a kitchen knife before you knocked? The duck paused.
Oh, right.
I forgot. At your age, never handled real weapons before. Condensing one is tricky without reference. Then it waddled to the lake, stretched its neck over the water, and turned back.
Kid.
Get over here. I'll teach you how to make a trident. Wait, was this duck giving me private tutoring? Free lessons? I scurried over with my eyes sparkling. The duck looked pleased with my enthusiasm, rummaged inside its own wing with its beak, and pulled out a 2-meter-long trident. From under its wing. Where was it keeping that?
Here.
Study this and try condensing a copy. I examined it carefully. The whole thing was jet black, made from some material I couldn't identify, not metal, not wood. The head had 6 prongs arranged in a hexagon, each with a barbed hook. The shaft was about 2 meters, seamlessly integrated with the head. One-piece construction. Senior, may I channel chi into it to examine the internal structure? Absolutely not. That's a profound-grade artifact. Requires foundation building to wield. It'd drain you like a juice box. Just copy the shape. The duck squinted at me suspiciously.
Wait.
Kid, did you go off track with your weapon training? My brow furrowed. I'd been stuck for days. Was my fundamental approach wrong? Make one. Let me see. I extended my right hand. Cyan wind chi flowed from the base of the shaft upward, 2 meters, then split into 6 prongs, forming the trident head. The duck examined it, then let out a triumphant quack. Quack, quack, quack. I knew it. You went completely sideways. Matching the weapon structure is fine. But you missed the most important thing. Your class is called Spiritual Energy Application. The core of your training is spiritual energy's attack power. The weapon shape is just a tool to help deliver that power. The real subject of this class isn't the weapon. It's the energy itself. You've been studying the knife when you should have been studying the wind. Something in my brain went click. So the reason I'd been failing for days wasn't that I didn't understand kitchen knives well enough. I'd been focusing on the completely wrong thing. Anna Yang did say to understand the weapon, but I took that and ran straight into a wall with it. The weapon was just the delivery system. The real subject was the spiritual energy itself. I looked at my trident. The wind chi was flowing lengthwise along the shaft, a single direction, loose and floppy. No wonder it fell apart. I needed a stronger structure. What's the hardest structure I know from either life?
Diamond.
I dismissed the trident, ready to rebuild it with a diamond crystal lattice, and then immediately froze. What's a diamond structure again? 4 years of coding had nuked every scrap of chemistry from my brain. I'd returned it all to my high school teacher, and she was not giving it back. Curse you, software engineering degree. The one time I need chemistry, and it's gone. I dug deep into my memories. Cultivation enhanced brain. Don't fail me now.
Deeper. Deeper. Got it.
One of Diamond's crystal forms, the rhombic dodecahedron. I channeled chi and rebuilt the trident using that structure. Each tiny unit was a 12-faced geometric shape, interlocking with its neighbors, wind chi flowing through every face and edge in a complex, crisscrossing web. The result was stunning. The energy lines wove through the trident in intricate, shimmering patterns, like looking at a mathematical proof that also happened to be beautiful. And it used only a third of the chi my previous attempt needed. But the real test, I swung it around.
No delusion. No boble.
Rock solid. Then I jabbed it at the stone sphere.
6. Perfect.
Craters. One from each prong. Deep and clean. It worked. Quack, quack, quack. Knew it. This girl picks things up fast. The duck nodded approvingly. Once you learn more materials in the future, you can build even stronger structures. But don't get too obsessed with this. Energy application is just the foundation. Don't let it distract you from learning actual combat techniques. Yes, senior. I turned to the duck with my best grin. So, what do these Lingxin fish look like? I'm ready to stab. Quack, quack, quack. Now that's what I like to hear. The duck's beady little eyes locked onto the lake's surface with laser focus. They're about the size of my wing. Silver body, pink gradient tail. Absolutely gorgeous.
And delicious.
Quack, quack, quack. Moonlight spilled across Lingxin Lake, turning the surface into liquid silver. I extended my spiritual sense into the water. Tons of fish down there, most of which I couldn't identify. But there, silver body, pink tail, found one. I sent the trident plunging down and, splash, massive water displacement. The fish spooked and vanished before the trident got anywhere close. These things had been marinating in spiritual energy their entire lives. They were fast. My trident was way too big and way too slow. I stared at the weapon.
Okay.
Think, Ningyun. Can a fish outswim wind?
No.
So the problem wasn't the energy, it was the delivery. Issue 1. My spiritual sense and chi control weren't refined enough yet for precision strikes on moving targets. That would take practice. Issue 2. The trident was enormous. Massive water resistance. Huge splash on entry. Basically announcing, hello fish, here comes death, before it even got close. The duck's trident was a physical artifact designed to be held. But mine was made of chi, controlled remotely with spiritual sense. Why did it need to be 2 meters long? I remembered Auntie Yang's palm-sized water sword. That was the right scale. I dissolved the big trident and rebuilt it. Same diamond structure, same 6 prongs, same barbed hooks, but shrunk down to palm size. A tiny, perfect, beautiful miniature weapon with wind chi screaming through its lattice at incredible speed. I test flew it around. So much more agile. Spiritual sense locked onto a fish. The mini trident shot into the water like a bullet, missed. But barely. Scraped the fin, knocked off a few scales. Close. Again. Adjust angle. Lead the target. Account for water refraction. Thwack. The trident speared a Lingxin fish and burst out of the water, gleaming in the moonlight. Quack, quack, quack. She got one. The duck didn't even wait for the fish to reach shore. It belly flopped into the lake and paddled toward the trident at maximum duck speed, beak wide open. Give it. Give it to me. I handed the fish over and dissolved the trident. Not because I didn't want to catch more, but because every single Lingxin fish in the lake had just witnessed the duck enter the water and fled in absolute terror. My spiritual sense showed a mass evacuation. Fish rocketing in every direction, hiding behind rocks, burrowing into mud. The lake was suddenly and completely empty of anything silver and pink. So that's why the duck needed my help. This glutton had been raiding the lake so often that the fish had developed a species-wide PTSD response to its presence. The second fat duck touched water, every Lingxin fish in the ecosystem went into witness protection. The duck swallowed the fish in one gulp, surveyed the empty lake, and shook its head in frustration. Well, kid, it's late.
Go rest.
Don't stay up too late. I'll be back tomorrow night. It flapped its wings, did some mystery technique, and vanished. I looked at the moon. Somehow it was already past midnight. The lake settled back into stillness, reflecting clean, quiet moonlight. I walked to the Lingxin peach tree, petals drifting in the breeze, landing on my fingertips. Sweet fragrance everywhere. I'd been running so hard lately. Training, studying, cultivating, stressing. Every nerve wound tight. I sat down under the tree, leaned against the trunk, and just let go. The rustle of wind through leaves. The calming scent of peach blossoms. The coolness of night air. All the tension melted away. The pride of exceeding targets. The excitement of learning my first spell. The pain of physical training. The frustration of days of failed weapons practice. The joy of the duck's breakthrough lesson. All those churning emotions settled into peace. Starlight cascaded from the sky, flowing into my body through the auto-cultivation cycle. Wind chi and stellar power compressed tighter and tighter in my dantian, growing silently, steadily. When the morning chime rang, I rose from a bed of pink petals. Flower fragments scattered from my clothes and drifted toward my courtyard. Something had shifted. The restlessness was gone. My steps were calm. My movements were unhurried. I smiled softly. Wash up. Breakfast. Come back and grind the compendium. And while everyone else is relaxing, I'll be secretly out studying every single one of them. 6 days later.
Ruiyu Pavilion Plaza.
After today, we moved to the final unit of spiritual energy application. Auntie Yang waved her hand, and a pile of stone spheres appeared. This class is a spot check on your weapon condensation progress. She looked at Jiang Yao. You first. Jiang Yao stepped up and condensed a golden axe. The thing hadn't even touched the stone sphere, yet when his gold chi's natural sharpness carved a dent into it from proximity alone. Then he swung clean split. 2 halves. Next, a golden sword. Punched straight through a sphere like butter. Finally, a dagger, which he used to carve a rough stone bowl. Then he turned to Auntie Yang with the biggest puppy dog eyes I'd ever seen. I swear I could see invisible ears perked up on his head, tail wagging, waiting for praise.
Auntie Yang frowned slightly.
Jiang Yao, your weapon stability is insufficient. The damage you're dealing comes almost entirely from your gold chi's natural sharpness, not the weapon itself. Without that innate edge, your constructs would shatter on impact. Your chi structure is too loose, and your spiritual sense control needs work. Spend the last 10 days practicing hard. The puppy ears drooped.
Yes, Auntie Yang. Mu Chenzi.
Up next. He condensed a full-length spear, same size as the duck's trident, and obliterated a stone sphere into fragments. He recalled the spear to float behind him, then condensed a halberd that looked suspiciously like Lu Bu's legendary sky piercer from Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Anime protagonist energy, maximum. Second sphere, demolished. Halberd recalled to hover beside the spear. For his third weapon, he condensed a water sword, much smaller than the first 2, only slightly bigger than Auntie Yang's demo sword. He used it to carve.
A dumpling.
Now, I'm pretty sure he started carving an animal. I could see the rough outline forming. But then one stroke went too deep, and he accidentally decapitated whatever creature it was supposed to be. So he pivoted, shaved the remains into a smooth ball, and called it a tangyuan. He recalled the sword to join his floating arsenal, pinched the dumpling between his fingers, and stood there with the most aggressively calm expression I'd ever seen. I looked at his white-knuckled fingertips, his rigid spine, his face that screamed, everything is fine, and I definitely meant to do this. I had to physically restrain myself from laughing. Auntie Yang paused for 2 full seconds before taking the dumpling from him. Chenzi, your chi structure is excellent. Stable weapons with strong attack power. Most people think water chi is soft and weak. You've proven it can match any element. However, larger weapons demand more spiritual sense to control. Scale your weapon size to the situation. And the carving mishap tells me your spiritual sense precision needs work. Focus on that for the remaining days. Mu Chenzi nodded thoughtfully. Thank you, Auntie Yang. The dumpling was not acknowledged as intentional. He did not correct the record. 1 xian. Red fire chi flashed, and a whip appeared in her hand. She gripped it like she'd been born holding one, cracked it down on a stone sphere, and it exploded into chunks, which immediately caught fire from the residual flame chi and crumbled into black ash before they hit the ground. She coiled the whip in her left hand, then condensed a forearm-length spiked mace. Actual flames roaring off it. She gripped the handle and brought it down on another sphere, like Thor having a bad day. Not just crushed. Vaporized.
No as. No debris. Just gone.
She tucked the mace under her left arm, casual, terrifying, then condensed a palm-sized fire sword. This time she went hands-free, spiritual sense only, and carved a little cat. She presented the cat to Auntie Yang in her right hand, whip and mace still casually held in her left like accessories. 1 xian. Using your hands for larger weapons you can't easily control remotely was a smart adaptation. Your weapon structures are solid, your attack power is overwhelming, and your fire temperature control is excellent, burning debris on contact but carving stone without scorching it. You've passed the standard. Thank you, Auntie Yang. 1 xian beamed and immediately shoved the stone cat into My hands. Here, Ningyun. This is for you. I looked down. A black cat mid-stretch, eyes looking sideways like it was plotting mischief. Actually really well carved. It's cute. Why are you giving it to me? 1 xian smiled mysteriously. It looks like you. I look like a scheming cat? What does that mean?
Yun Lu.
Ice chi crystallized into a blade about arm length. He sent it flying with spiritual sense. It cleaved a sphere in two, did an elegant spin in midair, and returned to hover at his left side. Then he condensed an ice sword. Impossibly thin blade, wickedly sharp edge, radiating cold mist. He flicked his spiritual sense, and the sword sliced through a sphere so cleanly, so fast, that the sphere sat there looking completely intact for a full second before splitting apart. Then frost crept from the cut line and froze both halves solid. Show off. Beautiful show-off, but still. Finally, an ice shuriken. It darted around a stone sphere with surgical precision and carved a fox, detailed, lifelike, practically ready to run away. The shuriken flew back to his palm obediently.
Auntie Yang smiled.
Excellent. Your spiritual sense control is outstanding. You handle large weapons effortlessly. Your ice sword was paper-thin yet didn't shatter on impact, meaning your chi structure is exceptionally stable. Your temperature control with ice chi is precise. Jun Luo, you've exceeded the target. Jun Luo's expression didn't change by a single pixel. Not a flicker of pride, surprise, or smugness. He bowed respectfully and stepped aside. Ice prints through and through. My turn. Since the Duck's coaching session, I'd successfully condensed 3 weapons, trident, cleaver, and wind sword. And because Fat Duck showed up every night demanding fish, I'd spent the past 6 days in an escalating war against the Lingxin fish population. Those fish were smart, fast, and had learned to fear anything sharp entering their lake. It was like playing whack-a-mole, except the moles were underwater and could swim at the speed of anxiety. But practice makes perfect. By now I could simultaneously control 5 mini tridents and hit my target with a 100% success rate. Time to show what the Duck's private tutoring had produced. Auntie Yang looked at me. My turn. I walked up and arranged 6 stone spheres in a row. Go big or go home. I channeled chi and 3 palm-sized weapons materialized simultaneously in my hand. Cleaver, trident, and wind sword. The whole trio all at once. I flipped my palm toward the spheres and all 3 weapons launched, like guided missiles. Each one punched clean through its target sphere. 3 spheres, 3 holes, 1 second. Then, without recalling them, I used spiritual sense to control all 3 weapons remotely. Cleaver tip, 1 trident prong, and sword point, each carving a different stone sphere at the same time. 3 weapons. 3 simultaneous carvings. 1 brain controlling it all. When I finished, 3 stone fish sat on the ground. Detailed. Lifelike. Practically swimming. 6 days of midnight fish hunting with a demanding duck will do that to your fine motor skills. Auntie Yang's eyes widened for just a moment. Using spiritual sense to control weapons while carving demands exceptional control. You simultaneously operated 3 weapons, maintained their structural integrity through impact and precision carving. That shows outstanding chi condensation and spiritual sense mastery. Wind chi is known for speed, and large weapons are too unwieldy for your current spiritual sense level. Condensing everything to palm size and leveraging wind's speed advantage was an excellent tactical decision. You wielded all 3 as naturally as extensions of your own hands. Ningyun, you've exceeded the target for weapon condensation. She handed defensive talismans to me, Jun Luo, and Wen Xian. Profound grade water shield talisman. Blocks 1 hit at foundation building level. Your reward for hitting the target. Have fun with them. Then she turned to Jiang Yao and Mu Chenza with considerably less warmth. You too. Starting tonight, 7 p.m., extra practice here. Every evening until you pass. Jiang Yao's puppy ears. Flattened.
Mu Chenza's camfasad, cracking.
Afternoon physical training brought its own announcement. After watching us climb the full cliff 10 round trips without slowing down, Uncle Lu nodded. At your current level, pure climbing doesn't push you anymore. Starting tomorrow, I'm adding a gravity formation to the cliff. It'll increase uniformly every day. Under heavier gravity, your strength and physical development will accelerate significantly. My mind flashed back to the stairway to immortality, that crushing pressure that had nearly flattened me as a powerless mortal. Now I was a cultivator with chi-enhanced muscles and tempered skin. Bring on the gravity. Honestly, I'd been hitting a plateau. The climbing was exhausting because of sheer volume, not difficulty. A gravity formation was exactly what I needed to break through. Between nightly fish hunting, which had pushed my chi and spiritual sense control to their current limits, and meridian tempering sessions after the duck left, my schedule had been insane. Last night, I'd finally gotten the lung meridian tempered to match my ren and du channels. My dantian was mostly full, just needed more compression before breaking through to chi refining layer 2. The duck had mentioned he was leaving the sect for a while. No more midnight fishing demands, which meant I could reallocate that time to first half of night continue meridian tempering, second half cultivation and compression. Goal: break through to layer 2 before the next phase. As for the compendium, my relentless morning and lunch study sessions had gotten me through half the spiritual plant section. Another month, and I'd have the entire plant encyclopedias memorized. Last 10 days of phase 2. New content. I showed up at the plaza expecting. Honestly, I had no idea what was left. For this final unit, we're training your spiritual energy spirit. Auntie Yang didn't pull out any props this time. Instead, she condensed something in her palm that made all 5 of us go slack-jawed. A water chiao, sitting on her forearm, made entirely of blue spiritual energy, but it moved like a real owl. It tilted its head and looked at us with visible curiosity. I could see its eyes rotating. I could read an expression on its face.
What the?
Actual spiritual energy is inherently lifeless. When I say training its spirit, I don't mean creating actual life from chi. I mean borrowing the characteristics of living things to give your chi constructs a degree of lifelike behavior. You've already learned to condense weapons, dead objects. But dead objects have limitations no matter how skillfully you use them. Condensing something alive is an entirely different concept. She scratched the owl's chin with her finger. This training won't directly increase your attack power. Honestly, on the surface, it looks completely useless. Pure waste of time. Unlike everything else we've covered, the real purpose of spirit training is to help you feel life. It's a form of communion with heaven and earth. A cultivation of your understanding of life itself. She moved her arm, and the owl took flight, circling above our heads. Then it swooped down, landed on Wen Xian's shoulder, and, with absolutely zero shame, snatched the ribbon tying her hair and flew back to Auntie Yang's arm, looking utterly innocent. Hey, my ribbon, Wen Xian grabbed at her now cascading hair, staring at the owl in disbelief.
You
little, she turned to Auntie Yang. Does this thing have a mind of its own? Because surely our teacher didn't just command an owl to steal her hair accessory. Auntie Yang coughed delicately and returned the ribbon. It does not have consciousness. The owl I used as reference was a bit mischievous. When I condensed this replica, I copied both its appearance and its behavioral patterns. So while I control it, the ingrained instincts still influence its actions. I simply didn't stop it. I was putting it together. Those behavioral patterns, that instinctive, lifelike quality, that was the spirit she'd been talking about. Not actual sentience, but something that mimicked life closely enough to blur the line. Weaponized chi was strong, but chi that moved and reacted like a living thing? That was a whole different level. And apparently, learning it required understanding life itself. No pressure or anything. Auntie Yang continued. Your goal for these 10 days is to condense a living creature from spiritual energy and control it well enough to perform simple tasks. Step 1. Pick an animal. Step 2. Observe everything about it: appearance, behavior, habits. Step 3. Condense it. Make the outside as identical to the real thing as possible. As for the behavioral patterns, if you observe carefully enough and the memory is vivid enough, those instincts will naturally embed themselves when you condense the form. She dissolved her owl and rebuilt it from scratch right in front of us, narrating the whole process. First, tiny owl feet appeared, then fluffy long legs,
Then body.
wings, and finally the head. One last wisp of water chi, and there it was again, that same innocent-faced little troublemaker, blinking at us like it hadn't just committed hair ribbon theft 5 minutes ago. She dissolved it again, went even slower, and walked us through every single step: technique, theory, common pitfalls, everything. This was hard. Way harder than weapons. You couldn't just follow a recipe. But having spent weeks condensing weapons gave us at least a tiny bit of intuition. Combined with Auntie Yang's incredibly detailed teaching, we had enough to start attempting it. Once she confirmed we understood the basics, Xiaoyao's exterior zone has a low-grade spirit beast garden managed by Qixia Peak. The animals there are basically backup food inventory for. The cafeteria. I'm sorry, we're going to a farm where the animals are future cafeteria meals and we're supposed to bond with them enough to replicate their life essence? Their spiritual energy is weak, which makes them perfect references for your cultivation level. There are no animals on Qixia Peak itself, so I'll take you down there. Pick one animal as your condensation subject. For the rest of this unit, go directly to the Beast Garden instead of the plaza. I remembered Uncle Lu mentioning on day 1 that the exterior zone was where miscellaneous duty disciples trained. So the food we'd been eating, all the spiritual ingredients, the beast meat, everything was raised and grown by those disciples. The whole sect was a self-sustaining ecosystem. Impressive. With half a class period left, Auntie Yang brought us to the teleportation hall. She pointed to a slot labeled Exterior Transfer Point 3. The exterior zone is huge. To get there from a cloud-floating peak, you teleport to a transfer point first, then switch to a local array. There are 4 transfer points total. Ours connects to 3. Then she taught us how to operate the teleportation arrays ourselves: the hand seals, the badge verification, everything. The seals were way simpler than dust removal. After 2 demonstrations, we had it down. She had us go through one at a time for practice. I slapped my badge into the slot. Flash, retrieved it, stepped onto the array, formed the seals, and sent a spark of chi into the activation slot. White light. The familiar tunnel of energy. Except this time, no protective bubble from our teachers. I felt the raw squeeze of teleportation for the first time. Imagine being in a packed subway where every direction is crushing you and someone's shoving you from behind. Not pleasant. I popped out in a massive hall with at least 100 teleportation arrays, all bustling with disciples. Yellow-sashed robes everywhere, the miscellaneous duty disciples of the exterior zone. I stepped off quickly so the next person wouldn't land on me, and found Wen Xian and Jiang Yao already waiting. While we waited for the others, I scoped out the surroundings. Each array platform had a number. The traffic here was way heavier than on Qixia Peak. Every array had a queue. Once everyone arrived, Auntie Yang pulled out a jade slip that looked suspiciously familiar.
Wait, was that
The basic sect guide? The one with the GPS map? The beast garden we want is at Chongting Cottage, one of Qixia Peak's subsidiary facilities. Remember the sect map from your orientation materials? Use it if you ever get lost. I dug out my own copy. Current location, Chongqing Cottage, transport mode. Teleportation array. The map immediately displayed. Array 26. Auntie Yang had already put hers away. Array 26. Let's go. The immortal GPS strikes again. At Chongqing Cottage, a 12-ish-year-old boy in a yellow sash greeted us. Are you Yang Charan, Auntie Yang? She handed over her identity badge. That's right. I made a reservation on the cottage platform yesterday. The boy swiped her badge on a tablet-looking device. My enhanced cultivator eyesight plus some tippy-toe action let me read the screen. Xiaoyao Immortal Sect Inner Disciple Book Peak Yang Charan Position. Qixia Peak Ryu Pavilion Head Pavilion Master Current Reservation. Chongqing Cottage Low-Grade Beast Garden 6. Ooh, fancy tablet. But wait, the identity info was already engraved visibly on the badge. Why scan it separately unless people forge badges? In the #1 sect in the world? That's concerning but also kind of hilarious. More importantly, head pavilion master? Auntie Yang was the main boss, not the deputy. Which meant Uncle Lu was the vice. Which meant Auntie Yang ranked first in their promotion exam. I stared at her with sparkling eyes. She didn't notice. Too busy waiting for the verification. The boy returned her badge with a respectful bow. Your reserved Beast Garden 6 is to the south. Please follow me. He led us out of the teleportation building, and I finally got my first look at Chongqing Cottage. Field trip. Officially underway. Chongqing Cottage sat on a regular mountain, nothing like the floating peaks of Qixia. The spiritual energy here was maybe a tenth of what we had up top, though still way denser than Yushui City. The plants were mostly normal, the buildings were modest, and the whole vibe was more working farm than immortal paradise. From the transfer point halfway up the mountain, I could see everything laid out below. First, dense rows of courtyards protected by formations, probably where the miscellaneous disciples lived. Below that, sectioned-off areas full of different spirit beasts, with yellow sash disciples bustling around. And way down at the base, huge fields of spiritual rice and other crops. The entire food supply chain for the sect, right here. This was basically Xiaoyao's agriculture department. Our guide led us downhill to a gate labeled Low-Grade Beast Garden 6. All spirit beasts inside are unranked, no danger whatsoever. Per your reservation, no other disciples will disturb you here for the next 9 mornings. Auntie Yang tipped him a spirit stone and let us in. The smarter the beast, the harder it is to condense with qi. These animals haven't awakened any intelligence. They're basically normal animals with a bit of spiritual energy. Perfect for your level. I peeked into the pens, and wait, these were just chickens,
Ducks, geese,
rabbits,
pigs, cows, sheep.
Regular farm animals, just slightly bigger and shinier than their mortal cousins. We were at a petting zoo. A petting zoo whose residents would eventually become cafeteria food. The circle of cultivation life. I wandered around, and without realizing it, stopped in front of the duck pen.
Huh.
Something about ducks just felt
Right.
Wonder why. I picked the fattest duck in the group as my condensation reference. She was lounging in a corner with her but facing me, radiating an aura of supreme indifference. I observed her carefully, shape, posture, the way she held herself, mentally rehearsed, then extended my hand and condensed a winged chi duck. Visually, perfect copy. Same lazy posture, same plump body, same everything. Spiritually, dead as a doorknob. Glassy eyes. Zero personality. It was basically a very detailed duck-shaped sculpture made of green energy. Functionally no different from my trident. I dissolved it and thought about what Auntie Yang said. Spirit training is about feeling life, communing with heaven and earth. I poked the real duck's wing. Hey, little duck. Wanna chat? No response.
Didn't even flinch.
I walked around to face her. Hey, why are you ignoring me? She sat there like I was air. Complete non-acknowledgement of my existence. I reached out and pet her head. She moved, tilted her head away from my hand. Progress. I pet her again. This time she went back to ignoring me. Incredible. A cultivation world duck with the personality of a disinterested cat. You're so aloof, I told her. What's your name? You know what, I'm naming you. You're so cold and regal. I'll call you Cold Concubine. No response. You didn't say no, so that means yes. Great, you love the name. Duck Cold Concubine. I'm pretty sure she couldn't understand a single word I was saying. But that wasn't going to stop me. Condensing a living creature was brutally hard. Way harder than I expected. Over the next few days, I realized just watching Cold Concubine during class hours wasn't enough. I needed full immersion. So I made the controversial decision to postpone my Chi Refining Layer 2 breakthrough and my compendium study and moved into the Beast Garden.
Yes.
I moved in with the ducks. I set up my meditation cushion right next to Cold Concubine and basically became her roommate. Outside of climbing cliffs and eating meals, I was here. I documented everything: her eating habits, her sleeping position, her resting behavior, and
Cough.
even her bathroom schedule. I was a duck biographer. This was my life now. But even after all that, my winged she-duck still felt like it was missing something. Clothes but not alive. When my teammates heard about my living situation, they all moved to the Beast Garden too. The miscellaneous disciple in charge of the farm was absolutely baffled. 5 cloud-floating peak disciples sleeping next to chickens and pigs. At first the poor guy was so nervous he couldn't even feed the animals at normal volume. But once he realized we weren't snobbish weirdos and genuinely just wanted to observe, he relaxed. Since Cold Concubine's primary activity was doing absolutely nothing, I eventually ran out of new observations. So I went on field trips to watch my teammates reference animals and then asked the farm worker to show me other beast gardens too. And that's when inspiration struck. Spirit training was about understanding life. Not just duck life. All life. The more creatures I observed, the deeper my feeling for what alive actually meant became. After visiting every beast garden I could access, I returned to Cold Concubine, sat down, and tried one more time. Wind she flowed. A duck took shape. Lazy posture. Half-lidded eyes radiating pure, I don't care about anything, energy. This time it worked. I dropped Wind she Cold Concubine on the ground. Without any input from me, she shuffled her little feet. And then lazily plopped down. On her own. I directed her toward food. She ambled over at glacial speed and started eating with exaggerated slowness. Every other duck finished and left. She was still chewing. One grain at a time. Savoring each bite with the energy of someone who has nowhere to be and nothing to prove. That's my girl. Days of suffering, finally vindicated. I exhaled in relief. Then, looking at Cold Concubine, I thought of someone else. A certain loud, greedy, bossy duck who taught me everything about chi weapons. Almost without thinking, I channeled chi and condensed fat duck. The moment it appeared, it hopped down, puffed out its chest, and looked at me with that trademark smug expression. I called it Senior. It went ballistic. Neck stretched to maximum height. Wings flapping. Strutting back and forth in front of me like a general reviewing troops.
Pure un bridal d'ego.
I laughed. It heard me laughing, instantly got offended, and charged at me flapping its wings, trying to peck my face. I had to call it Senior 5 more times and formally apologize before it calmed down. I dissolved both ducks and sat back on my cushion, thinking. Both Cold Concubine and Fat Duck had been successfully condensed. But Fat Duck had way more spirit, more personality, more lifelike behavior, more realness.
Why?
I figured it out. Fat Duck's chi clone had more spirit than Cold Concubine's because of 2 things. 1. Fat Duck was way smarter than Cold Concubine. Higher intelligence equals more chi consumption equals more lifelike result. Simple math. But 2, and I think this was the bigger reason, I had a real relationship with Fat Duck. Weeks of midnight fishing, his annoying lectures, his dramatic ego, me calling him Senior 100 times. I knew that bird. Not just his appearance and habits, but his personality, his quirks, the way he'd strut when praised and attack when laughed at. Cold Concubine? I'd studied her like a biology textbook. Fat Duck. I'd lived with him like a friend. Emotional connection made the chi copy more alive. Deep down, I was pretty sure that was the secret. After sharing notes with my teammates and swapping tips, I moved back to Tingfeng. 2 free mornings before the exam went straight to compendium grinding. Every other waking moment. Cultivation. Compress. Compress harder. Push toward chi refining layer 2. Exam day.
Ruiyu Pavilion Plaza.
Spiritual energy application assessment. The usually empty plaza now had 5 large formations, each 40 square meters, filled with thousands of fist-sized floating stones zipping around in every direction. The assessment has 2 parts. Part 1. Offensive capability. Each formation contains 5,000 stones. You have 1 incense stick to knock down 3,000 using chi-condensed weapons. More stones equals better score. Auntie Yang lit the incense. Begin. I didn't rush. First, I scanned the formation with my spiritual sense. Stone material, same as our training spheres. My diamond lattice weapons could shatter them easily.
Check.
Stone speed. Fast, but slightly slower than Lingxin fish. 6 days of midnight fish hunting had calibrated my reflexes for faster targets.
Check.
The real challenge. The flight paths were completely chaotic. Up, down, left, right, crisscrossing, zero pattern.
Pure randomness.
But here's what I noticed. Each stone was fist-sized. When a stone left its current position heading in any direction, there was a tiny window, the time between the front of the stone leaving and the back of the stone leaving, where its position was predictable. At wind chi speed, that window was more than enough. I smiled. 5 palm-sized wind swords materialized and shot into the formation simultaneously. What followed was, well, imagine a machine gun made of wind blades inside a snow globe full of pebbles. Stones exploded into rubble raining down like a hailstorm. Half an incense stick. All 5,000 stones.
Cleared.
Auntie Yang's spiritual sense had been monitoring the entire exam. And even though she already knew her 5 students were talented, watching my 5 wind swords dance through the formation, perfectly positioned, 0 misses, each stone sniped with surgical precision, she physically gasped. She found herself thinking, when we took this exam, could anyone do that? Could I, the first-place finisher, have done that?
No.
The answer was no. Every generation really does produce more terrifying prodigies than the last, she thought. These kids are going to be monsters. But looking at all 5 of us, she felt a warm swell of pride. Out of 132 groups of new disciples this year, Ruoyu Pavilion's training results were the best, bar none. And she had opinions about the other groups. Some had dual-route disciples falling behind because the curriculum wasn't adjusted for mixed ability levels. Some had spoiled rich kids refusing to cooperate. Some had absurdly structured programs. The neighboring pavilion, Shuoyu Pavilion, started teaching sword techniques on day 1. To 6-year-olds. With 0 physical conditioning. How many times can a wet noodle child swing a sword before collapsing?
3?
4? They eventually realized their mistake and split the day between swords and conditioning, which just meant exhausting the kids twice as fast. Now those 2 instructors came to Book Peak every night to complain to Auntie Yang about their glacial progress. She was considering changing her address. Then there was Huanyan Pavilion. On Yanhui Peak, they tried teaching spells first.
Spells. To kids who just absorbed chi.
Their entire spiritual energy reserve would be depleted after forming 2 hand seals. What spell are you casting with 0 chi left? Comedy gold. After 10 days of failure, they copied Ryu Pavilion's approach and started teaching energy application instead. Fine, same sect, sharing is caring. But they also copied Ryu Pavilion's 1-month exam timeline. Except their kids were significantly less disciplined and needed more time. Now the exam date was locked in at Zheng Peak, and when those little troublemakers inevitably failed, the retake paperwork was going to be a nightmare. And don't even get her started on the other groups. Actually, never mind.
Too many complaints.
Point was, Ruoyu Pavilion was flawless. She and Uncle Lu had designed their curriculum specifically around their 5 students' aptitudes and personalities, drawing on years of experience and sect guidelines. All 5 being single route meant similar cultivation speeds, No one holding anyone back. The schedule ran buttersmooth. Well, except for Ningyun being slightly ahead, almost breaking through to layer 2 while the others had just stabilized layer 1. Wait, Auntie Yang squinted at me. Was this kid deliberately suppressing her cultivation? Her chi felt way too dense and compressed for someone who hadn't broken through yet. And she was still the fastest cultivator in the group while holding herself back? Was wind root really this overpowered? After clearing my formation, I glanced at Auntie Yang. She was recording my results.
Good.
I turned to watch my teammates, when Xian immediately stole my attention. She was wielding a thigh-thick, 2-meter-long spiked mace made of fire chi, standing at the edge of her formation, swinging like a berserker at a demolition site. Each swing obliterated 3 or 4 stones, and the residual flames occasionally incinerated a couple more for free. She also had 2 palm-sized fire swords flying around inside the formation, but honestly, those things were zooming around aimlessly without hitting anything. We don't talk about the fire swords. Her mace progress looked solid though. She'd clear everything in time. But then my peripheral vision caught Junluo's formation, and I stopped watching when Xian entirely. Because what Junluo was doing over there was absolutely disgusting. In a good way. In the most show-off ice prince, I'm better than you, and I don't even care, way possible. Junluo's exam performance was art. He had 1 arm-length ice sword, thin as paper, cold as death, and every strike was like watching a master calligrapher paint. Not fast, but devastatingly precise. Each swing took out 10 or more stones, and everything the blade touched flash froze into ice crystals that shattered and cascaded down like glittering snow. Beautiful. Infuriating. Show off. Next to him, Zhang Yao had leveled up hard since the pop quiz. His axe was now structurally solid with sharp gold energy coating the surface like a buzz saw. Since he couldn't match the stone's speed, he just pushed the axe sideways through the formation like a bulldozer. 4 or 5 stones per sweep, either smashed or sliced by the sharp aura. Creative problem-solving. He'd hit 3,000 easily. Mu Chenze went full cartoon mode. He'd condensed a water hammer with a head the size of a person and was playing whack-a-mole with the floating stones. Just bonk, bonk, bonk. Pulverized clusters with every slam. Watching everyone gave me ideas. Maybe I could develop some new wind chi tricks inspired by their approaches. Incense burned out. Auntie Yang recorded scores. Rest and recover. Second exam in 1 incense stick. My 5 mini swords had barely used any chi, and my auto-cultivation had already topped me off during the spectating period. But I couldn't exactly sit there fully charged while everyone else meditated, so I crossed my legs and pretended to cultivate. Squeezed in 3 full cultivation cycles while I was at it. Efficiency, maximum. Part 2. Animal condensation. Operate your chi creature to complete Auntie Yang's commands. Now, I had 2 options, cold concubine or fat duck. Cold concubine was, well, she was cold concubine. If Auntie Yang said, walk over there, and my duck just lazily plopped down and refused to move, that was not getting me top marks. Fat duck it was. When fat duck appeared, immediately started strutting around with maximum personality, completed every task with dramatic flair, and generally acted like the exam was beneath him. Pure chaotic energy, but obedient enough when I called him senior in my head. Naturally, exceeded all requirements. Results hit the badge. Phase 1 Spiritual Energy Application Outstanding. 3 outstanding ratings across all exams so far. I clutched my badge and fought to keep my face neutral. Stay humble.
Keep going.
Aim for outstanding in every subject. Quick team check-in. Junluo also got outstanding, when Xian got excellent. Zhang Yao and Mu Chenze got B grade because they didn't clear all their stones in time. Afternoon physical exam. Same brutal simplicity. 5 round trips, bottom to peak, under gravity formation, 1 sure-hour time limit. I could do 10 round trips now. Outstanding, obviously. And, after weeks of effort, I'd finally pass Mu Chenze in climbing speed again. Revenge is mine. Junluo was still ahead, but I was solidly in second place. Jun Luo and Mu Chenza also got outstanding. Wen Xian and Jiang Yao got excellent. After the exam, Uncle Lu gathered us together with a tone that felt weirdly final. You've completed the most critical foundation work. From today, your time is your own. He handed each of us a jade slip. This is the sect's best body conditioning method. After tonight's last skin tempering bath, follow this for future training. Wait, were we being graduated? Uncle Lu, are we done with all our foundational classes? Not quite. 2 more required courses are scheduled by the sect, but the timing isn't set yet. Mysterious required courses. Noted. Here's the thing, Uncle Lu continued. Auntie Yang and I discussed it. With your talent level, structured group classes would actually hold you back now. So, we applied to the Disciple Training Division at Zheng Peak. Any student who passes all 4 exams on the first try gets full formal disciple privileges unlocked early. He smiled. Check your badges. I dove into my badge with spiritual sense and WHOA. My identity badge had transformed from a basic ID card into what looked like a full social media platform crossed with a university internet. The Xiaorao founder was definitely a transmigrator. Possibly multiple transmigrators. This was way too modern to be coincidence. 6 main tabs: Profile, Friends, Chat, Mission Hall, Platform, Forum. Profile, my identity info, exam history, recruitment footage, all neatly organized. Friends, split into my friends and sect directory. The directory listed our 2 teachers and 4 teammates first, then thousands of names I didn't recognize. I immediately moved my squad and teachers into my friends for easy access.
Auntie.
But there was a new conversation button in the corner. Immortal group chat, here we come. Mission Hall, grayed out. I tapped it. Pop up. Chi refining layer 3 required. Insufficient clearance. Me. So much for all formal disciple privileges. Apparently the mission system had its own gatekeeping beyond what our teachers could override. Platform, split into favorites and all. Favorites had the Challenge Tower, Spell Hall, Sword Hall, Alchemy Hall, Formation Hall, Talisman Hall, Artifact Hall, basically everything on Chuandao Peak. All was organized by the 4 main peaks, 72 inner peaks, 32 outer peaks, and the exterior zone. I could only access the 4 main peaks, Qixia Peak, and the exterior. Everything else, access denied. So that's what they meant by platform when Annie Yang reserved the Beast Garden. It was all through here. Forum. 2 sections, Xiaoyao Forum and World Forum. I tapped Xiaoyao Forum and got blasted by an avalanche of posts. Recruitment post. Ancient cultivators cave spotted 500 miles outside Yangshan City in Dingyuan region. Anomalous energy detected. Looking for nearby sect members to form an exploration party. Call out post. Warning. Avoid Tianhu sect. Join their group expedition. Got stabbed in the back. That post had over 100 comments. Book Peak. Zhenghai. Tianhu sect? They got me too last time. Took forever to heal. Book Peak. Wanlo. Wait. Last month? Senior brother. You told me you were injured by a demon beast. It was actually them? Book Peak. Zhenghai attempted to recall a message. Failed. Message exceeded recall time limit. Book Peak. Wanlo. Alchemy Peak. Cheningshi. Tianhu sect, huh?
Perfect.
I've been looking for test subjects for my new poison pills. Alchemy Peak, Lin Ci. Little junior sister is savage. Alchemy Peak, Lin Song. Little junior sister is savage. Artifact Peak, Xu Ziming. Junior sister Cheningshi, come pick up a defensive artifact for me before you go. Can't have them ambushing you. Alchemy Peak, Cheningshi, copy that. I was hooked. Xiaoyao's internal forum was basically Reddit meets Discord meets a Cultivation World Revenge support group. Then, I tapped World Forum. The very first post?
Gossip. About Xiaoyao.
Oh no. This is going to eat my entire evening.